Chapter 1331. You look so young. You should be a young genius, but I don't have any information about you. I'm curious. Who are you? Asked the flaming youth. You don't need to know who I am. Lin Xian's expression was cold, and his voice was cold. The young man who was bathed in flames didn't get angry. Instead, he stared at Lin Xian with a smile. You have a personality. I like it. You're definitely not weak. You should be at the seventh sky of the venerable realm. How about it? Are you interested in joining my divine pill hall and being my subordinate? Don't worry. I won't mistreat you. As long as you follow me, I promise to be your subordinate for the rest of your life. I'll make you rich, said the flaming youth. Follow you? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. It was the first time he had heard such words. No one had ever dared to say such words to him. The flaming youth did not know what Lin Xian was thinking. He continued speaking arrogantly. Don't worry. You won't be at a disadvantage if you follow me. Although you're at the seventh sky of the venerable realm and are considered a genius, I'm even stronger. I, Fang Yan, am the third leader of the Divine Pill Hall. Once I break the ice in the Sword Pool Mansion, I'll have made a great contribution and will soon become the second leader. Following me is definitely the wisest choice. Our Divine Pill Hall is not like the Nether Hall. We're the #1 hall. Fang Yan was very confident. He was indeed confident because the Divine Pill Hall was ranked first in the Black Dragon Church, while the Nether Hall was ranked second from the bottom. Although they were both halls, the gap between them was huge. Fang Yan was young. Not only had his cultivation reached the seventh sky of the venerable realm, but his alchemy skills were also impressive. Not only that, but he was also the third leader of the Divine Pill Hall. His status was as high as Qing Yun. He had countless geniuses working for him. Therefore, in his opinion, as long as he revealed his identity, all the geniuses in the world would submit to him. The young man in front of him was no exception. However, Lin Xian only laughed, and it was a disdainful sneer. Seeing Lin Xian's disdainful smile, the flaming youth opposite him laughed. It seems like you don't believe me, but it doesn't matter. I've met many geniuses before, and none of them believed me. But in the end, they still became my subordinates. You are no exception. The flaming youth seemed to have boundless confidence. I'll capture you first, and then bring you back for training. Don't worry, you will recognize me as your master in less than 3 days. He turned his head slightly and said to the black-clothed old man beside him, Catch him? Yes, branch master. The black-robed old man nodded coldly. Then, like a ghost, he rushed forward quickly. He didn't say much, but his attacks were swift and fierce. The claw was like a goshawk. It was very sturdy and was surrounded by countless red flames. With a blazing aura, it quickly tore through the void and grabbed at Lin Xian. Lin Xian stood in place without moving. When the other party attacked, his eyes suddenly became sharp. Not only that, but countless azure auras bloomed around him as if they were going to freeze the entire space. A blue ice fist formed in front of him and quickly blasted forward. Boom! The fist hit the black-robed old man's palm hard and immediately sent him flying. What? The black-robed old man's pupils constricted. He exploded with all his strength and quickly retreated. When he landed, half of his body was already frozen by the ice. Ice spiritual power. You are an ice martial artist. The black-robed old man's face was gloomy. He found that the flames in his body were suppressed. This wasn't good news for him because ice and fire were elements that restrained each other. However, who could restrain who depended on the cultivation of both parties? Now, it seemed that the other party was obviously stronger than him. But how could this be? The black-robed old man cursed in disbelief. The other party was only a 20-year-old young man. How could his cultivation be higher than his? This scene made the flaming youth stop smiling. Ice martial soul, I see. No wonder you were so confident and refused to submit to me. It turns out that it is the ice martial soul, which is the opposite of the flame martial soul. However, I like to subdue people like you. The flaming youth smiled evilly again, but soon his smile froze, because the black-robed old man behind him screamed. What? What's going on? The flaming youth turned around abruptly. Then, His pupils constricted and he was stunned. It turned out that the black-robed old man behind him was suddenly pierced by countless ice. Not only that, the ice cones were stained with blood. They froze the black-robed old man's body and formed a human-shaped ice sculpture. Dead? How could this be? The flaming youth couldn't believe it. The old man he brought along was very powerful. His cultivation was at the 7th rank honorable realm. Like him, he was also a fire-type martial artist and was very powerful. Even if the black-robed old man was Lin Xian, he couldn't have been killed instantly. Could it be that the other party's ice power was so terrifying? The flaming youth couldn't figure it out. He could only turn around and stare at Lin Xian. The flames on his body flickered. What method did you use to kill him? Lin Xian sneered disdainfully. You didn't even see clearly how I attacked. You want to subdue me with such strength? Lin Xian's words made the flaming youth's face turn ugly. However, he then snorted coldly. Don't be so smug. The black-robed old man must have been careless previously. Coupled with your sneak attack, that's why you succeeded. Brat, you've got guts. You actually dared to kill my people. Today, I'll make you suffer a fate worse than death. Not only that, I'll capture you and refine you into my most loyal servant. The flaming youth roared. He waved his hand and quickly formed a red palm. Then, he slammed it forward. Wherever it passed, the air melted and space distorted. Everything around it burned rapidly. On the other hand, Lin Xian sneered disdainfully. Playing with fire in front of me? You're courting death. Then, he looked around. Suddenly, a ball of black flames flew out and landed lightly on the flaming palm. In the next moment, the flaming palm made a sizzling sound and disappeared quickly like ice melting. What? It melted? Flames? How can you have flames? Seeing this, the flaming youth's face finally changed. He couldn't understand how a person could have both the ice power and the fire power at the same time. Looking at the flaming youth's shocked expression, Lin Xian sneered disdainfully. Surprised? Can't believe it? I really don't understand. How can a person like you be so arrogant? Do you really think that you're invincible by relying on external forces to raise your cultivation? Let me tell you, a person like you isn't even an ant in my eyes. Because you don't know how vast the world is. I reckon that with your character and methods, you won't even survive a day in Tianwu continent. What? Tianwu continent? You're from Tianwu continent. Chapter 1332. This time, the flaming youth was shocked and he screamed. He did not expect that Su Mo was from the Tianwu continent. No wonder he was so powerful. No wonder he could kill so many people in an instant. No wonder he could possess both the ice and fire attributes. Su Mo was a genius martial artist from the Tianwu continent. No, I have to send this news back. Boy, you surprised me. I did not expect you to be from the Tianwu continent. But you are too arrogant. Do you really think you can kill me? Just you wait. When you send the news back, the Black Dragon sect will send real experts to kill you. After saying that, the flaming youth turned around and wanted to leave. You want to leave? Do you think that is possible? Lin Xian's body flashed and he appeared in front of the flaming youth, blocking his way. You are courting death. How dare you look down on me? The flaming youth was furious. He did not attack because Su Mo was too mysterious and possessed both the ice and fire attributes. However, this did not mean that he could tolerate being looked down on. He was the third branch leader of the Divine Pill Hall and a genius of the Tiannan region. Boy, so what if you are from the Tianwu continent? I will let you know how powerful I am. The flaming youth's voice was ferocious. In the next moment, a ball of orange flames appeared in his palm and floated in his palm like a cloud. Fire cloud, earthly fire. Die, brat. The moment the cloud-like red flames appeared, they emitted a blazing heat. The aura was twice as strong as the previous flames. I have just obtained the fire cloud, earthly fire, and did not want to use it. I did not expect to meet you. Boy, you should be proud to die under my fire cloud, earthly fire. The flaming youth's voice was cold and there was a trace of madness in his eyes. After that, the cloud-like flames quickly merged with his right palm and his aura suddenly increased by 3 times. Ha 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 ha. So what if you are from the Tianwu continent? I have merged with the fire cloud earthly fire. Even an 8th rank honored realm expert is not my match. Die. Fire cloud palm. The flaming youth shouted angrily and struck out with his palm. A red palm left countless afterimages in the air and struck towards Lin Xian. This was the fiery young man's trump card, as well as his greatest reliance. Lin Xian still shook his head in disdain. Too weak. The next moment, he also slowly raised his palm, and countless black flames appeared in his palm. Then, he gently pressed forward. Boom! The void collapsed, and a pitch-black black hole appeared. It was as if a giant abyss beast was going to swallow everything around it. The next moment, a strange scene appeared. Everything around him began to burn rapidly and silently, disappearing into thin air. There was no violent explosion, not even a sound. However, this silent burning was too terrifying. Nothing could stop it. The flaming youth revealed a look of horror once again, because he discovered that the fire cloud chapter he had shot out had disappeared without a trace in an instant. What kind of flame is this? How terrifying! He couldn't understand how such a terrifying flame could exist in this world. However, he did not have the chance to think about it. This was because the terrifying black flames had enveloped him in an instant. In the next moment, his palm quickly turned into ashes and disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. Not only the palm, but the entire body of the flaming youth was engulfed by the black flames in an instant and burned to a crisp. In the end, nothing was left. Lin Xian was expressionless, as if he had done something insignificant. He waved his hand and recalled the black flames that filled the sky. Then, he turned around and left. The pavilion was still the same, but there was no one inside. Not only that, but all the forces of the Black Dragon cult around the Sword Pool Mansion had been uprooted by Lin Xian. No one survived, no one escaped, and no one was able to spread the news. Therefore, for a moment, the surroundings of the Sword Pool Mansion became dead silent. The Black Dragon cult probably did not expect their forces to be wiped out in an instant. Without any trouble around, Lin Xian arrived in front of the Sword Pool Mansion. This time, the Crimson Dragon, Murong Qingqing, and Luo Bingshan had all come. The four of them looked at the ice mountain in front of them and frowned. Ruzalong, set up a formation. I don't want to be disturbed when I'm breaking the ice, Lin Xian said. That's easy. The Crimson Dragon casually set up a formation that enveloped the entire Sword Pool Mansion. Even if they were to turn the world upside down inside, no one outside would notice anything unusual. On the other hand, Lin Xian stretched out his palm, and the black flames danced quickly. Then, he pressed forward. Bang! When his palm touched the ice in front of him, there was a tremor. Even the air buzzed and trembled as if it could not withstand it. What a terrifying power of ice! Lin Xian was surprised. He realized that the power of ice could resist his black flames. It was unbelievable. One had to know that his black flames were not ordinary flames. They were obtained from the heavenly Netherbird. It could be said that they were extremely terrifying. However, the ice in front of him could resist it. It was amazing. It was no wonder that the Sword Pool Mansion was still safe and sound after such a long time. It was because no one could break the power of ice. Even if Lin Xian did not make a move, the Nether Hall and the Flaming Youth would not be able to break it. Thinking of this, Lin Xian's eyes focused. His entire body burned with black flames, forming a terrifying flame aura that quickly poured into his palm. Finally, the ice in front of him melted. However, the speed was extremely slow. If he wanted to break the ice in the entire Sword Pool Mansion, it would take at least 1 or 2 months. No, it's too slow. Lin Xian retracted his palm and shook his head slightly. Although he could hide it for a while, he could not hide it forever. He believed that it would not take long for the Black Dragon cult to react. At that time, they would definitely send a large number of experts. Ordinary sovereigns would be easy to deal with, but if a half-step king or the Black Dragon cult's leader personally came, things would be troublesome. He did not want to fight against the Black Dragon cult's leader yet, so he had to think of another way to save the Sword Pool Mansion as soon as possible. Why don't we do it together? I'll help you break it. On the side, Murong Qingqing said. Luo Bingshan also gripped her treasured blade tightly. As long as Lin Xian gave the order, she would immediately make a move. The Crimson Dragon stroked his chin and carefully observed the ice in front of him. He even used a secret technique. Why does this thing sound so familiar? Where have I heard of it before? The Crimson Dragon was suspicious. Then he exclaimed, "What? Could it be that kind of thing? But how is this possible? Why would that thing appear here? Even the Sky Martial Continent did not have the qualifications to appear here. What is it?" Lin Xian asked. He rarely saw the Crimson Dragon so surprised. Chapter 1333. What? Could it be that kind of thing? But how is that possible? How could that thing appear here? Even the Sky Martial Continent did not have the qualifications to appear here. The Crimson Dragon was shocked. What is it? Lin Xian asked. He rarely saw the Crimson Dragon so surprised. Sea God Ice, an extremely terrifying type of ice, the Crimson Dragon said. Then it quickly walked forward, wanting to verify it. It quickly waved its dragon claws, and suddenly a dark red light pierced forward. The ice in front of it moved strangely, and its surface rippled like water. That's right, it's the Sea God Ice. The aura was terrifying, dark blue, and when it was attacked, it would produce ripples like the sea. These were the characteristics of the Sea God Ice. Boy, I'm getting more and more curious about your family. They actually have the Sea God Ice. The Crimson Dragon was right. He was indeed curious. First, Lin Xian's father was so terrifying. Not only did he become a king, he also controlled a dragon vein. Now, Lin Xian's family had a miraculous item like the Sea God's Ice. Sea God Ice? What is that? This time, not only Lin Xian, even Morong Qingcheng and Luo Bingshan were puzzled because they had never heard of this name. Of course you don't know, because even in the Sky Martial Continent, there is no such thing. The Crimson Dragon explained, this is a type of ice called the Sea God Ice. It is very strange. Even a king would be moved by it. In the past, there was a legend that there used to be a continent, but it was later broken up and formed many different continents. And in between those broken continents, there was an endless sea. It is said that there was once a god who descended and used the power of ice to freeze the endless sea. Although it was destroyed later on, the remaining pieces of ice gathered together and formed the unique Sea God's Ice. Hearing the Crimson Dragon's explanation, Lin Xian and the others opened their mouths wide. Freezing the endless sea? This Sea God's Ice was too terrifying. One had to know that although the Sky Martial Continent was huge, the surrounding endless sea was even bigger than the Sky Martial Continent. To be able to freeze the sea, one could only imagine how terrifying it was. Perhaps even a king would not be able to do such a thing. Are you sure this is the Sea God's Ice? Lin Xian was shocked. He didn't expect his family to have such an item. I'm also suspicious. How could such a magical thing appear in such a remote place? But now, it seems that it's true. It's just that there aren't many of them, the Crimson Dragon said. Even though it covers the entire mountain manor, it's probably the size of the Sea God Ice. It's only the size of a fingernail. Brat, this is a great opportunity. If you can absorb this Sea God's Ice, your ice martial soul will definitely improve greatly. I don't dare to say anything else, but at least it won't be weaker than the Black Flame martial soul. Really? Lin Xian was excited. He didn't expect to have such a fortuitous encounter. Indeed, the Great Dragon Sword Soul was the strongest among his martial souls. The second was the Black Flame martial spirit, and the third was the Thunder martial spirit. The Ice martial spirit that he had condensed the earliest was currently the weakest. Other than the Great Dragon Sword Soul, it was an offensive Saint Art. The Black Flame martial spirit came from the heavenly Netherbird, and the Thunder martial spirit was formed from the 6,000-year-old Purple Thunder Divine Bamboo. Only the Ice martial spirit was considered his most ordinary one. But now, he had found a piece of Sea God's Ice. It was even more terrifying than the heavenly Nether Black Flame. If he could absorb the Sea God's Ice, his ice martial soul would definitely improve greatly. Since he knew the benefits of the Sea God's Ice, Lin Xian naturally wouldn't let it go. In the next moment, he sat down cross-legged and used his ice martial soul to quickly absorb the ice energy in front of him. This time, it could be said that Lin Xian was going all out. However, the sea god's ice was a magical item. Its power was even above the heavenly nether black flame. Therefore, even though Lin Xian was extremely powerful, his absorption speed was not fast. At this rate, it would take a long time. On the side, Murong Qingqing also frowned. No, Lin Xian, don't be too impulsive. This kind of ice energy is very dangerous. If you absorb too much, it will be a huge burden on your body. She was right. This kind of ice energy was too terrifying. No one below the king realm dared to absorb too much. Otherwise, their bodies wouldn't be able to withstand it. However, Lin Xian was different. This was because he cultivated the Angry Dragon Manual. This was an earth-tier cultivation technique. Moreover, it was an earth-tier cultivation technique that increased the strength of one's body and blood. At this point, Lin Xian's Angry Dragon Manual was already at the 3rd level. The blood in his body was vigorous like a furnace, burning fiercely. Therefore, his body could withstand more ice energy than ordinary martial artists. Streams of ice energy surged out from the ice mountain and quickly entered Lin Xian's body. During this process, the overflowing ice energy made Murong Qingqing, Luo Bingshan, and the others feel uncomfortable. One could imagine just how much power of frost Lin Xian was enduring right now. Gradually, a layer of blue ice appeared on his body. It was as if he had turned into an iceman. Although Murong Qingqing and the others were worried, they didn't act rashly. This was because they could clearly sense that although Lin Xian's body was covered in blue ice, the blood in his body was very vigorous. It was roaring like an angry dragon. At this moment, the power of the longevity art was also revealed. Lin Xian hadn't changed his cultivation technique since the beginning. Although the longevity art didn't have a grade, it was very mysterious. Even now, he felt that he couldn't see through it. Now, Lin Xian was madly absorbing the ice energy. The longevity art displayed its great power and quickly circulated in his body. Its speed even surpassed that of an earth-tier cultivation technique. Lin Xian was like a bottomless pit. He crazily absorbed the ice energy in front of him. The ice on his body became thicker and thicker. In the end, it completely enveloped him. Lin Xian, stop. You can't absorb anymore. This is already the limit. Murong Qingqing was anxious. Don't worry, I'm fine. I have the indestructible golden pellet. Even if I'm seriously injured, I can recover in an instant. Lin Xian's voice was firm. There was no fear. Everything was within his calculations. The Crimson Dragon watched from the side and nodded. It had to be said that Lin Xian's body was too strong. It was even stronger than some half-step kings. It was very clear about the power of the Neptune hilt. No one below the king level dared to touch it. Even if they did, they would carefully absorb it. They wouldn't be like Lin Xian, who was crazily devouring it without thinking about the consequences. Lin Xian's body was indeed strong. Apart from the Fury Dragon art, he also frequently consumed old-time tea and all kinds of natural treasures. It could be said that his life force had reached a terrifying level. Don't worry, don't worry. This kid won't kill himself. The Crimson Dragon God said to Murong Qingqing and Luo Bingshan. Then, it looked outside and said in a low voice, what we need to do should be to deal with those guys who are coming. Chapter 1334. While Lin Xian was absorbing the sea god's ice, the Black Dragon sect had also discovered something strange. The headquarters of the Nether Hall was located in a mountain range in the cloud region of the Xia country. At this moment, a disciple of the Nether Hall was flying towards the headquarters in a hurry. He looked extremely flustered. Report, something bad has happened. There has been no news from the Swordpool Mansion for a day. Soon, the news reached the headquarters of the Nether Hall. No news for a day? Are you sure? The headquarters of the Nether Hall quickly checked and found that there had been no news from the 4th Division for a day. This made everyone in the headquarters feel heavy. According to the rules, every division had to report to the headquarters every day. No accidents were allowed to happen. However, there had been no news from the 4th Division for a day. There was only one possibility for this, and that was that something had happened to the 4th Division. Gather the 5th and 3rd Divisions. Hurry and check on the 4th Division. Soon, the 3rd and 5th Divisions received the order and moved quickly. They did not dare to delay the orders from the headquarters. Therefore, they rushed to the 4th Division as fast as they could. There were more than 600 people in the 2 divisions. They were all elites. The 2 leaders were 7th-rank supremacies. One was a woman in black, and the other was a red-robed old man. The 2 of them led the branch's martial practitioners to look at the 32-story pavilion in front of them and frowned. The surrounding array is not damaged. There are no signs of fighting either. Did no one come? Although there are no signs of fighting, the scene is very strange. There is not a single disciple here. The 2 of them quickly conversed, and their expressions became even gloomier. Go in and take a look. The leader of the 3rd Division, the woman in black, said coldly as she pointed at a burly man beside her. Immediately, a set of spiritual power armor formed on the burly man's body. Then, he quickly walked forward. He took a deep breath. With one hand holding a long saber, he pushed open the door in front of him with the other. Creak. The thick metal door was pushed open, revealing the situation inside. It was still quiet inside. There was no one inside. Report, there is no one. The burly man quickly ran back. The woman in black nodded. However, her expression changed drastically in the next moment. She smelled a faint smell of blood coming from the front. Not good. The black-robed woman's heart skipped a beat. She quickly led the warriors behind her and rushed forward. By the side, the red-robed old man also moved and followed. The 2 parties quickly scouted and finally arrived at the 23rd floor. When they saw the ground full of corpses and meat dregs, they were all stunned. Some of them even couldn't take it and started vomiting. How was this the 4th Division? This was hell on earth. What shocked them even more was that all the tables, chairs, and furnishings around them were all neat and tidy. There wasn't even a trace of a knife mark. This time, there was no fierce battle at all. It was a one-sided massacre. Only an instant kill could produce such a result. A peerless expert had appeared and destroyed the 4th Division. The black-clothed woman and the red-robed old man looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. This time around, they were here to patrol under orders. But now that a peerless powerhouse had appeared, it was not a good thing for them. That was because the other party was too powerful. They were actually able to slaughter the 4th Division. If they were to fight against them, they would most likely be doomed. However, if they couldn't complete the mission given to them by their superiors, they would feel worse than death. In the next moment, the black-clothed woman took a deep breath and said coldly, "Everyone, listen up. With the pavilion as the center, search in all directions. Don't miss a single spot. If you find anything suspicious, report it immediately. Focus on the sword pool mansion." The red-robed old man also gave the order to search. Then, close to 600 Black Dragon sect disciples quickly spread out to search. I hope that the peerless powerhouse has already left. The red-robed old man's face was very ugly. He was only from the 5th Division, and his strength was slightly weaker than the 4th Division. He didn't want to meet that mysterious peerless powerhouse. However, things didn't go as he wished. Just as the red-robed old man and the black-clothed woman were waiting anxiously, a warrior quickly came to report. "Sir, we found something strange near the Swordpool Mansion. Let's go." The 2 of them didn't dare to delay and quickly moved out. Soon, they arrived near the Swordpool Mansion. What's wrong? The 2 of them looked ahead and quickly sensed, but they didn't find anything. "Sir, it's useless to just sense this time. This was discovered by our people by accident." With that, he slashed forward with his saber. In the next moment, a light screen appeared in the void in front of them and blocked the saber light. What? There's a defensive formation. Seeing this, the black-clothed woman and the red-robed old man were shocked. They knew that there was a formation set up around them, but the formation that appeared in the air was definitely not set up by the Black Dragon sect. They couldn't be wrong about that. In other words, someone had set up a formation near the Swordpool Mansion without them knowing. Thinking about the destruction of the 4th Division, the 2 of them quickly realized that the other party was definitely targeting the Swordpool Mansion. What should we do? 3rd Division Master, should we report to the Hall Master immediately? The red-robed old man asked quickly. Humph. Report to the Hall Master? Have you found out what it is? Is there anyone inside? What kind of formation is this? What does it do? The black-clothed woman snorted coldly. 5th Division Master, I know you're afraid of death, but if you can't complete the mission, I'm afraid you'll suffer a fate worse than death. Hearing this, the red-robed old man trembled and then said dejectedly, All right, I understand. I'll gather people to investigate the formation in front of us. This formation was naturally set up by the Crimson Dragon. At this moment, the Crimson Dragon, Murong Qingsheng, and the rest saw the situation outside from the formation. They didn't expect that in just a day, the other party would find them. The Black Dragon sect was quite fast. Murong Qingsheng was also surprised, because from the other party's fighting strength and battle experience, it was a complete mess. Compared to the Tianwu continent, it was much worse. However, just from the efficiency of their work, it was not inferior to the House of Kings. In just a day, they had gathered a large number of warriors and found their location. So what if they found us? If they're not strong enough, it's useless. Murong Qingsheng snorted coldly. Indeed, although there were many people outside, about 500 to 600 people, they were too weak. In their eyes, they were no different from ants. Murong Qingsheng didn't even need to do anything. The 3 5-star assassins that Luo Bingshan brought with him, with the permission of the Crimson Dragon, began to move. The 3 assassins' cultivation had reached the 9th level of Honored Realm. With the secret assassination technique, they were able to assassinate a 9th level peak existence. Brothers, the update frenzy is here. I'll definitely let you guys enjoy it. Everyone has votes, vote, support. Chapter 1335. The 3 assassins were all 9th Heaven Venerables. With their secret assassination techniques, they could even assassinate peak 9th Heaven existences. They could be said to be incomparably powerful. At this moment, dealing with the people outside was simply a piece of cake. However, these 3 assassins were probably used to assassinating all year round. Even when facing the ants outside, they did not reveal themselves. Instead, they hid in the void and assassinated. Outside, the black-clothed woman and the red-robed old man quickly ordered their subordinates to gather again and prepare to study the formation ahead. Listen, the formation ahead is very mysterious. It might be where the enemy is hiding. So later you must. The black-clothed woman quickly ordered. However, she was only halfway through her sentence when her neck was suddenly pierced. Terrifying blood sprayed all over the ground as her head fell to the ground. Buzz. This scene stunned everyone. They did not expect the 3rd Division Master to die just like that. They did not even see who had attacked. The red-robed old man at the side was so frightened that he wet his pants. He was originally timid and very afraid. The scene just now had scared him out of his wits. The head of the 3rd Division Master, who had been perfectly fine, suddenly flew up and fell to the ground. The blood that spurted out all sprayed onto his face. Screams, horror, shock, all kinds of emotions filled the red-robed old man's mind. He could not imagine who could kill the 3rd Division Master in an instant. After all, the 3rd Division Master was an extremely powerful 7th Heaven Venerables. He was also very famous in the Nether Hall. At this moment, he had actually died so inexplicably. He did not even know who the killer was. Where was it? How did it happen? He did not know at all. However, the red-robed old man did not need to know because in the next moment, his head also flew. Blood sprayed into the sky. Soon, he lost consciousness. The 600 Black Dragon School's disciples at the front were all stunned. They didn't dare to imagine this scene. Their 2 leaders had actually died suddenly during the assignment of tasks. Moreover, they had been killed in one move. Even the 2 division masters did not know how they had died, let alone these people. However, these people were not stupid. Someone who could silently kill a 7th Heaven Venerables was definitely an extremely terrifying killer. There is a peerless killer nearby. Hurry up and run. In an instant, the 600 Black Dragon sect disciples ran in all directions. Like locusts in autumn, they covered the sky. In the sky, on the ground, in all directions, there were people fleeing. In their opinion, since the other party was trying to assassinate them, there shouldn't be too many people. If they ran in different directions, they would definitely be able to escape. As long as one of them managed to escape, they would be able to relay the news to the headquarters. They had a good idea, but they had underestimated the enemy. If it was an ordinary assassin, this method would really allow them to escape, but this time, it wouldn't work. Because the one who had attacked this time was a Ninth Heaven Venerable. The terror of a Ninth Heaven Venerable was unimaginable to these people. The three Ninth Heaven Venerables were hidden in the void, and they were like life reapers as they attacked mercilessly. That speed was extremely fast, completely toppling the understanding of these people. Because in the next moment, over 100 heads flew up and blood splattered in all directions. From an outsider's point of view, these hundreds of heads flew up at the same time, as if 100 people had attacked at the same time. However, there was only one person who did it. This was the speed of a Ninth Heaven Venerable. Thus, in practically the blink of an eye, those 600 Black Dragon School's disciples were all killed. The ground was littered with corpses, and the pungent smell of blood permeated the surroundings. The figures of the three 5-star assassins also appeared. One of the middle-aged men waved his hand, and a boundless sea of fire instantly burned these corpses. As assassins, not only did they have to be good at assassination, but they also had to know how to clean up the scene. Only then could they hide the truth and not be discovered. And these three 5-star assassins had reached the peak. In an instant, all the corpses on the ground disappeared, and so did the blood. In fact, even the smell of blood had disappeared from the air. It was as if everything that had happened before was an illusion, and it had never happened. In the next instant, these three figures flashed and returned behind Luo Bingshan. Although the Black Dragon School's disciples outside had been dealt with, Murong Qingsheng and the others were not relaxed. This was because, according to Lin Xian, there were king tears in this place. If they caused too much of a commotion and really attracted king tears, then it would be troublesome. After all, no matter how weak a king tier was, they were still a king tier. They were existences that had formed a domain and were fundamentally different from venerables. Even the weakest king tier could easily kill a Ninth Heaven Venerable. The gap between them could be imagined. Rizalong, how long will it take for this guy to finish absorbing? Murong Qingqing asked. The Crimson Dragon said in a low voice, "It's hard to say. According to yesterday's speed, it should be a month. But from the looks of it today, it should be done in 10 days. 10 days? That's too long. At that time, I'm afraid it will really attract king tears." The three of them were worried, but at this moment, Lin Xian suddenly said, "Don't worry, it won't take that long." "You can hear?" Murong Qingcheng was surprised. Normally, when martial artists cultivated, they would be completely immersed in their cultivation, and they would not know what was happening outside. And now, looking at Lin Xian's appearance, it seemed that he could hear everything they said clearly. How could she know that Lin Xian cultivated the Heavens Rise visualization chart? His soul power had been greatly improved, and it was difficult to find a match for him below the king tier. With such powerful soul power, it was very easy for him to multitask. Therefore, Lin Xian could focus on absorbing the frost energy while paying attention to what was happening outside. "It won't take 10 days. I just need to open a hole in the ice wall in front of us and rescue my people. Then, we can leave." "That's right." The Crimson Dragon slapped his head. "That's a good idea." Hearing this, Murong Qingcheng and Luo Bingshan sighed in relief. Indeed, it would be much easier to open a hole in the ice wall. In fact, Lin Xian had done the same. From the beginning, he had chosen a place to absorb the frost energy. And now, he had already created a fist-sized hole, and it was still expanding. A day had passed, and the Netherhall realized that not only had they lost contact with the 4th Division, but they had also lost contact with the 3rd and 5th Divisions that they had sent out earlier. This caused them to be extremely astonished. They really could not understand what had happened. One had to know that the strength of a division was extremely great. Not to mention other things, the number of people in the division was enormous. If they really encountered a battle, 1 or 2 of them would be able to escape. But until now, they had not received any information at all. It was as if everyone had evaporated into thin air. Could it be the Martial Alliance? The Netherhall's headquarters guessed, but they were still not sure. Chapter 1336. Could it be the Martial Alliance? The headquarters of the Nether Hall was puzzled. Only the Martial Alliance could go against the Black Dragon sect. However, they did not dare to believe it. This was because even the Martial Alliance did not have the power to silently destroy 3 of the Nether Hall's branches, unless it was the top expert in the Martial Alliance. However, such an expert would be under the watch of the Black Dragon sect's guardians and would not have the time to do anything. Therefore, they really did not know what had happened to the 3 branches. However, they could not just let this matter go. After all, this had happened in their territory. Therefore, they quickly sent the second branch. The second branch was powerful. Its strength was even more terrifying than the third and fourth branches combined. Not only that, the leader this time was an 8th level honorable and 5 7th level honorables. Together with 500 Black Dragon sect disciples, they were extremely powerful. Even if they were attacked by the Martial Alliance, they would not be afraid at all. Soon, these people flew toward the Swordpool Mansion. At the same time, Lin Xian finally succeeded in creating a 1-meter-tall hole in the Swordpool Mansion. Although it was a little small, it was enough. Moreover, the situation was urgent, so he did not continue to expand. In the next moment, he stood up and stopped absorbing. In a flash, he entered the Swordpool Mansion. Behind him, the Crimson Dragon, Murong Qingqing, and Luo Bingshan also quickly followed. The 3 5-star assassins stayed outside and were responsible for monitoring the situation. After entering the Swordpool Mansion and looking at the familiar surroundings, Lin Xian was filled with emotions. 5 years. He had left the Swordpool Mansion for 5 years. Now, he was finally back. Grandfather, second uncle, my people, I'm back to save you. Lin Xian clenched his fists. Luo Bingshan followed Lin Xian respectfully while Murong Qingqing looked around curiously. As this was Lin Xian's home, where he used to live, Murong Qingqing was especially concerned. The Crimson Dragon was also very proud. Of course, it was not curious about the surrounding scenery, but the sea god's ice. As expected of the legendary ice. Although those people have been frozen, their life force has not been extinguished. As long as the ice is removed, these people will immediately come back to life. The Crimson Dragon kept nodding in amazement. In front of him, there were hundreds of figures, all of them covered in blue frost. Lin Xian looked at an old man and a middle-aged man, and his expression was abnormally excited because they were his grandfather and second uncle. The others were also his clansmen. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian did not hesitate and once again absorbed the frost energy from those people. Compared to before, the absorption this time was much easier. Although there were hundreds of people frozen, each of them had very little ice power. In addition, Lin Xian had already absorbed it once, so he was more experienced. Thus, Lin Xian's speed was even faster this time. Soon, the frost energy on the bodies of the hundreds of people in front of him quickly dissolved, and the blue frost disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the end, all the frost energy disappeared, and the hundreds of warriors came back to life. Crack, crack, crack. Because they had not moved for 5 years, when these people moved again, their bones made cracking sounds. However, the first sentence that came out of their mouths was, "Xian run." Hearing this, Lin Xian's eyes immediately moistened. He did not expect that even though they were frozen, his grandfather, second uncle, and clansmen were still worried about his safety. This made him extremely touched. In front, the people of Sword-Leaving Mansion were also stunned after shouting this sentence. Could it be that the frost energy has been removed? They felt the condition of their bodies and were extremely surprised. This was because they clearly remembered that they were all frozen in the end, but now they could move again. It's not a dream. It's really not a dream. The frost energy is gone. Everyone shouted wildly. Then, they looked around and were all stunned. Because the enemies from before had disappeared, the surroundings were quiet, and the surrounding buildings were still sealed by the frost energy. Only they could move. However, in the next moment, all of them looked at Lin Xian. Among them, a tall old man and a square-faced middle-aged man were even more excited, and their bodies were trembling. "Xianer, you're Xianer." They were too excited. They did not expect that not only would the frost in their bodies disappear, but they would also see Lin Xian the moment they came out. You're fine? That's great. The Lin family members cheered. No, you've grown taller. And you look different too. Old Master Lin and second Uncle Lin were very surprised. Could it be that a long time has passed? Looking at the strange yet familiar surroundings, they were very puzzled. Grandfather, second uncle, masters, this is not the place to talk. Follow me out first. When we reach a safe place, I'll tell you in detail. Lin Xian said. Good, good, good. As long as you're fine, this old man is relieved. Old Master Lin was very excited, and he grabbed Lin Xian's hand and did not let go. Second Uncle Lin grinned at the side, and the others cheered excitedly. Soon, they saw Morong Qingqing, Luo Bingshan, and the Crimson Dragon. This is? Second Uncle Lin asked curiously. Second Uncle, they're my friends. Lin Xian gave a simple introduction, and then the group of them walked out. Although Old Master Lin and the others had a lot of questions, it was not the right time to ask. They could only wait until they had settled down. Soon, the group of people left Swordpool Manor and came outside. Xian, where are we going? Second Uncle Lin asked. Should we build a new manor nearby? No, I'll take you out of Xia country. Lin Xian said. Out of Xia country? Why? Old Master Lin and the others were puzzled. Isn't it good to live here? Second Uncle Lin also asked. That's right. Our Lin family's foundation is in Xia country. Where can we go if we leave? Lin Xian laughed bitterly. He knew that these people had been frozen for 5 years and didn't know what was going on outside. Therefore, he could only explain simply, Grandpa, second uncle, Xia country isn't safe now. Let's talk about it after we get on the spirit boat. Then, Lin Xian turned his head and said to the Crimson Dragon, Ruzalong, remove the array. Let's leave. Simple. Hearing this, the Crimson Dragon waved its dragon claws and immediately removed the array. Grandpa, second uncle, stand back. I'll take over Swordpool Manor first. What? Take over Swordpool Manor? Old Master Lin and the others were puzzled. They didn't understand what Lin Xian meant. Lin Xian smiled and was about to take over Swordpool Manor. However, at this moment, there was a violent fluctuation in the sky. An extremely powerful aura came quickly, like a demonic mountain, pressing down on everyone. Chapter 1337. In the distance, the void trembled. It was as if dark clouds were coming. A huge pressure came from the sky. It was like the palm of a demon god. It was extremely terrifying as it slammed towards Lin Xian and the rest. Feeling that aura, the expressions of Old Master Lin and the rest of the Lin family changed. Fear. Endless fear. They had never seen such a terrifying aura in their lives. They didn't even know what realm this aura was at. Many of the ordinary members of the Lin family turned pale and collapsed to the ground. Old Master Lin and second Uncle Lin roared and quickly stood in front of Lin Xian to shield him. Xiao Xian, run. Lin Xian's face also darkened. He looked at the sky and a cold killing intent appeared in his eyes. In the next moment, he waved his hand and formed an invisible force that instantly destroyed the pressure coming from the sky. Rays of sword light danced and formed a huge defensive barrier that protected all of the Lin family members. Not only that, he also injected pure energy into the bodies of the Lin family members, instantly healing their bodies. Grandpa, second uncle, don't worry. It's fine. Lin Xian comforted them. The Lin family members were shocked. Old Master Lin and second Uncle Lin were even more shocked. They didn't expect Lin Xian to have such a method to block that terrifying aura. Only now did they realize that Lin Xian seemed to have not only grown older, but his cultivation had also become unfathomable. Although they didn't know what was happening outside, they still had experience. From that aura, it definitely surpassed the spirit-detecting realm and even reached a legendary realm. To put it bluntly, that aura just now could have killed all of them. They probably couldn't find anyone in the entire Xia country who could fight against it. However, such a terrifying aura was completely destroyed by Lin Xian with a wave of his hand. This meant that Lin Xian's strength was above that of the mysterious enemy. In the next moment, countless experts stepped through the air. They were like a dark cloud or a demonic mountain as they quickly flew over. Seeing these people, Old Master Lin and the rest were even more shocked. This was because they discovered that there were a total of 500 enemies. Every single one of them had an abnormally powerful aura, so much so that one would feel despair just by looking at them. Even the weakest of them had reached the spirit-detecting realm. As for the few middle-aged men in the lead, their auras were like that of gods. They could only be looked up to. Who are these people? Old Master Lin and the rest were terrified. They couldn't believe that so many experts had appeared in China. No wonder Lin Xian said he wanted to leave Xia country. Could it be because of these people? Suddenly, a disciple of the Lin clan screamed, "Look at their clothes! They're from the Nether Hall." What? Nether Hall? This time, the Lin family was all shocked. How could the Nether Hall be so powerful? They were very familiar with the Nether Hall. Previously, they had been frozen because the Nether Hall had attacked their Swordpool mansion. However, at that time, the Nether Hall was only slightly more powerful than them. But now, these people were standing in front of them like gods. They couldn't believe it. Impossible. How could the Nether Hall have such a terrifying expert? If this is true, then the other party could have instantly annihilated the entire Swordpool mansion. Second Uncle Lin's expression was very ugly. They are indeed from the Nether Hall. Not only Xia country, but the entire Tianan region has also undergone some special changes. That's why their strength has increased greatly. But don't worry. With me around, they won't be able to cause any trouble. Lin Xin comforted. Won't be able to cause any trouble? Old Master Lin and the rest widened their eyes in disbelief as they looked at Lin Xian. There were so many experts in the sky. Any one of them could wipe out Xia country. However, Lin Xian didn't care about them at all. Could it be that he was even stronger? Although everyone was bewildered, they could tell from Lin Xian's earlier display that he was indeed incomparably powerful and had exceeded their understanding. Thinking of this, they all calmed down. Xiaoxian, tell me honestly, how strong have you become? Old Master Lin asked in a deep voice. He didn't want Lin Xian to risk his life for them. Don't worry, grandfather. I'm a little stronger than all of them combined, Lin Xian said with a smile. Hearing this, the corners of everyone's mouths twitched. He was a little stronger than all of them combined? This wasn't a dream, right? At this moment, the group of terrifying warriors in the sky had also arrived above the Swordpool mansion. They were the second division sent by the Nether Hall. After receiving orders from the headquarters, the second division didn't hesitate and flew at full speed. Finally, at the last moment, they arrived at the Swordpool mansion. However, what shocked them was that a hole had been opened in the Swordpool mansion, and the people who were sealed in ice inside had actually come out. This caused the people of the second division to be extremely shocked, especially the second division leader. One had to know that back then, the Nether Hall had used countless methods, but they were still unable to break through the ice. Even the protectors of the Black Dragon sect were unable to do anything. But now, the ice had actually been broken. Not only that, the people inside weren't dead. They had all come back to life. No, this matter was too strange. He had to capture them all and study them properly. This was because in the eyes of the Nether Hall, the Swordpool mansion must be hiding a huge secret. They had to unearth this secret so that they could obtain battle merits and be valued by the Black Dragon sect. Thinking of this, the second division leader of the Nether Hall took a step forward, looked down, and shouted coldly, I didn't expect you people of the Swordpool mansion to be able to come back to life. But this is good too. It saves the Nether Hall the trouble of taking action. Kneel on the ground obediently and become slaves of the Nether Hall, and I can spare your lives. The second division leader obviously wanted to intimidate everyone, so his voice was filled with endless power, causing the entire void to tremble. The surrounding mountains collapsed as they couldn't withstand this power at all. Looking at everything around them, the people of the Lin family were extremely shocked. What made them feel strange was that ever since Lin Xian formed a protective barrier and enveloped them, they didn't feel any energy threat. So now, they could only see the terrifying energy outside, but they couldn't feel it at all. While the Lin family was shocked, the second division leader in the sky was even more shocked. He was obviously trying to intimidate everyone, so his voice was filled with endless pressure. Not to mention the cultivators of the Lin family. Even ordinary venerables would tremble and kneel in front of his voice. They wouldn't be able to resist at all. However, although the group of people below looked terrified, their bodies didn't change at all. They didn't even tremble. This was simply too bizarre. Chapter 1338. Lin Xian's face darkened when he saw this. Killing intent surfaced in his eyes. Since he had rescued the Lin family, the next step was naturally to eliminate the Nether Hall. He asked in a cold voice, "Which division do you belong to?" Lin Xian's voice was not loud, but it spread clearly in all directions. Hearing Lin Xian's words, the second division leader was stunned. Then, he laughed arrogantly. "Kid, it seems like you know a lot. You even know about our division. Listen up, I'm the second division leader of the Nether Hall. Today, I've brought the brothers of the second division here to capture you." As soon as he finished speaking, the warriors behind him laughed sinisterly. In their opinion, the people below were too weak. There was not even a single supremacy. Of course, they could only see the cultivation of Old Master Lin and the others. As for Lin Xian and the others' cultivation, they could not see through it at all. However, looking at how young the other party was, he did not look like a supremacy. Therefore, they did not take it to heart at all. However, Lin Xian sneered. "The second division? Very well. I've already destroyed the third, fourth, and fifth division. I was still thinking of where to find you, but I didn't expect you to deliver yourself to me." Hearing Lin Xian's words, the arrogant laughter above disappeared as if someone was strangling them. "What did you say? You destroyed the third, fourth, and fifth division? Kid, do you know the consequences of saying that? Do you believe that I'll kill all of you below with one palm?" The second division leader stopped smiling. His expression was extremely sinister. He naturally knew about the disappearance of the third, fourth, and fifth division. According to their guess, it should be the doing of the Martial Alliance's super elders. However, now, a 20-year-old young man actually said that he was the one who destroyed it? This was simply too unbelievable. Lin Xian shook his head. He could not be bothered to talk to the other party. Then, he said to Luo Bingshan, "Do it. Go ahead. Remember, leave the second division leader behind. I want him alive." Lin Xian's words made Old Master Lin and the others widen their eyes in disbelief. As for the people in the sky, they started to sneer. They looked down below as if they were looking at idiots. They simply did not believe that the people below could contend against them. What an ignorant brat. He actually wants to challenge our second division? The second division master sneered disdainfully. The martial artists behind him were even more rampant. It seemed that the group of people below were all idiots. "All right, let me make a move later and let them know how powerful Grandpa is. I'm going to break all their bones and enslave all the men. As for the women, haha, ignorant worm. It seems like you've been frozen for too long, so you don't know how powerful we are." The cultivators of the second branch sneered and prepared to attack. They wanted to teach these people a lesson and show them how powerful they were. However, Luo Bingshan bowed respectfully. "Yes, master." Then, she moved her body and quickly rose into the air. Old Master Lin and the others were very worried. "Xiao Xian, can a little girl like her do it? Don't harm him. Don't worry, the trouble will be solved soon, and we can leave this place." Lin Xian smiled. Above, the cultivators of the Nether Hall's second division saw Luo Bingshan flying towards them and laughed maniacally. "Ha ha ha, I'm dying of laughter. Do you think you can kill us by sending a little girl up? How naive. This girl has a good figure, but she's wearing a mask on her face. I wonder what she looks like. However, I've decided to catch her later and let her know how powerful I am." Those people laughed sinisterly, not taking it to heart. The second division master crossed his arms and looked like he was watching a show. In his opinion, the other party was just a weak little girl. He did not need to do anything at all. Just one of his subordinates would be enough to subdue her. Luo Bingshan wore a golden mask and looked like a killing god. Her cold gaze swept across the crowd. Then, she said coldly, "You dare to go against my master? Only death awaits you. As soon as she finished speaking, Luo Bingshan disappeared. The next moment, she reappeared behind the crowd. Her slender hand withdrew her long saber and slowly sheathed it. Clang! Poof! Poof! In the sky, 500 heads flew up, and blood instantly dyed the sky red. The scene was spectacular. In just an instant, the arrogant second division had been killed. 500 heads flew up, each of their faces filled with horror. They did not believe that someone could kill all of them in an instant. What was even more tragic was that they did not even know how the other party had done it. Among these 500 people, the 5 7th-level supremacies were naturally included. Other than that, only the second division master was still alive. However, his face no longer had the arrogance from before. Instead, it was replaced by deep horror. Shocking, it was too shocking. He did not dare to believe the scene before him. One had to know that those were his 500 subordinates. Among them, there were 5 7th-level supremacies and dozens of 6th-level supremacies. Any one of these people could wipe out the entire Xia country. However, they had all been killed at this moment. Below, Old Master Lin and the rest were even more shocked. All of them widened their eyes in disbelief. The people in the sky had shocked them greatly. They had even thought that the other party was a god. This was because the aura of those people had exceeded their understanding. However, such powerful people had been killed in an instant. Moreover, the one who had done it was a weak little girl. The Lin family members' minds went blank. They did not dare to believe it. Lin Xian nodded slightly and said in a deep voice, "Bring him back." Immediately, Luo Bingshan turned around and stared coldly at the second division master. The second division master trembled. It was as if he was being stared at by the Grim Reaper. A deep sense of fear rose from his body. This gaze was too terrifying. Perhaps even their hall master could not release such a terrifying killing intent. He knew that things were not good. The woman in front of him was definitely a peerless assassin. She was not someone he could fight against. Even the entire Nether Hall might not be able to fight against her. At this moment, the second division master only had one thought, and that was to escape. Escape as much as possible. In the next moment, he roared angrily and quickly burned the spiritual energy in his body. His entire body turned into a ray of light and fled into the distance. However, Luo Bingshan's expression was cold. With a stroke of her finger, a resplendent blade light quickly slashed out and cut the second division master's body in half. The second division master's body below the waist fell to the ground. Blood dyed the ground red, but the body above the waist was still alive. However, the pain caused his face to become extremely distorted. Luo Bingshan snorted coldly. Her 5 fingers formed a claw and instantly grabbed the second division master's upper body. Then, she brought him to Lin Xian. "Master." Luo Bingshan respectfully called out to Lin Xian. Chapter 1339. Luo Bingshan snorted coldly. His 5 fingers formed a claw and instantly grabbed the upper half of the second division leader's body before bringing him to Lin Xian. "Master." Luo Bingshan called out respectfully to Lin Xian. "No, don't kill me. Please let me go. I'll tell you everything you want to know." Hearing Luo Bingshan call the young man master, the second division leader panicked. He had never thought that the person he had treated as an ant would be such a terrifying existence. Therefore, he quickly begged for mercy. Although he had been cut in half, he was not dead yet. As long as he was alive, he would have a chance to recover. However, Lin Xian would not let the people from the Nether Hall go. Previously, they had even threatened to kill the Lin family. How could he show mercy? In the next moment, he stretched out his hand and grabbed the second division leader's head. Then, he used his soul power to obtain information. Although the second division leader was an 8th heaven honorable, his strength had been raised through external means. His true strength could not withstand a single blow. Moreover, Lin Xian's soul power was too strong. Therefore, the second division leader had no chance of resisting. In an instant, Lin Xian obtained the information he wanted. This guy has killed many innocent people. His hands are stained with the blood of countless people. He deserves to die. With a flick of his finger, The nether black flame covered the upper half of the 2nd Division leader's body and burned him to ashes. Morong Qingsheng, Luo Bingshan, and the rest were used to it and did not react at all. However, Old Master Lin and the rest of the Lin family were shocked. They did not expect Lin Xian to have such terrifying means. He could kill a divine immortal with a raise of his hand. Lin Xian did not explain. After all, it would be troublesome to explain. It was better to wait until they were on the spiritual boat. In the next moment, he waved his hand and summoned the spiritual boat in the sky. Then, he turned to Old Master Lin and the rest and said, "Grandfather, second uncle, family members, let's go up." Looking at the huge spiritual boat, Old Master Lin and the rest took a deep breath and quickly boarded the spiritual boat. Lin Xian did not go up immediately. Instead, he stared at the sword pool mansion behind. Then, he stretched out his hand and grabbed at the sword pool mansion. The gigantic palm grew larger and larger. Like a dark cloud, it enveloped the entire sword pool manor. At this moment, the spirit boat had already taken off. Grandpa Lin and the others stood on the spiritual state and exclaimed as they watched this scene. The sword pool mansion was extremely majestic and huge. Even if the top warriors of China fought, they would not be able to completely destroy it. But now, Lin Xian had actually grasped the entire sword pool manor with a single hand. This was too shocking. However, this was not the end of it, because Lin Xian's next move was even more shocking. He raised his hand and uprooted the entire sword pool mansion. The huge mansion was like a city, but it was actually lifted up by Lin Xian. Immediately, a bottomless pit appeared on the ground, and the ground cracked. Countless cracks appeared and spread in all directions. With a wave of his hand, Lin Xian kept the sword pool manor into the world within his body. Because the surface of the sword pool manor was made of sea god ice, ordinary storage rings could not withstand the cold air at all. Therefore, he could only keep it in the world within his body to be safe. In the next moment, Lin Xian's body swayed, and he came to the spirit boat. Then, he controlled the spirit boat and flew into the distance. Next, after settling Grandpa Lin and the others down, Lin Xian began to tell them about what had happened in the past few years and the changes in the Xia country. After Grandpa Lin and the others heard this, they were extremely emotional. They did not expect the Xia country to have undergone such earth-shattering changes in just 5 years. These changes were something they could not even dream of. Not only that, Lin Xian's experience was even more amazing. Step by step, he rose from the Xia country to the Tianan region. Finally, his name shook the entire Tianwu continent, and he became the top genius of the Tianwu continent. There was another piece of news that made Grandpa Lin and second Uncle Lin very excited. It was news about Lin Zhan. "You're saying that Xiao Zhan is still alive?" Grandpa Lin was very excited. "Father is still alive, and he's in the Tianwu continent. After this matter in the Tianan region is over, I'll bring you guys over," Lin Xian said with a smile. Good, good, good. Grandpa Lin was very happy. He did not expect that not only would the entire Lin clan be revived today, but they would also meet Lin Xian and even receive news about Lin Zhan. This was great news for them. Next, Lin Xian let them rest. There was no need for them to participate in the rest of the matters. This spirit boat was very big and it was very comfortable. There were all kinds of cultivation resources, so there was no problem for the Lin clan to stay on it. "Lin Xian, where are we going now?" Murong Qingqing accompanied Grandpa Lin and chatted for a while before leaving. Lin Xian looked at the peerless beauty in front of him and said with a smile, "It seems that my grandfather likes you very much." "Oh right. Did he give you any family heirloom?" "Family heirloom? What family heirloom?" Murong Qingqing asked. "Of course it's a family heirloom for my granddaughter-in-law," Lin Xian said with a smile. "Go to hell." Murong Qingqing's face turned red as she lightly punched Lin Xian. Lin Xian smiled and narrowed his eyes. He began to talk about serious matters. "Next, we'll go and eliminate the Nether Hall. I can't watch them harm Xia country." Murong Qingqing nodded. She would always support Lin Xian's decision. Moreover, she had seen the Nether Hall's methods. It was definitely the actions of the demonic sect. It should not exist in this world. From the 2nd Division leader's memories, Lin Xian learned about the Nether Hall. However, What surprised him was that the Nether Hall's headquarters was in Cloud State. Moreover, it was in the Black Heaven sect. The Black Heaven sect was Lin Xian's first sect. His martial path started there. However, he did not expect that his original sect would be occupied by the Nether Hall. At this thought, Lin Xian's heart sank. He waved his hand and increased the speed of the spirit boat. Cloud State, Nether Hall's headquarters. The Nether Hall's Hall Master was very powerful. His cultivation had reached the 9th heaven of the Venerable Realm. Not only that, he controlled 8 or 9 countries around Xia country. It could be said that he was the true overlord here. However, he had been in a bad mood for the past 2 days. This was because there was no news from the people he sent out. It was as if they had disappeared into thin air. First, it was the 4th division, then the 3rd and 5th divisions. Now, there was no news from the 2nd division. Trash, a bunch of trash. The Nether Ancestor roared angrily. Until now, he had not even figured out who the enemy was. How could he not be angry? Hall Master, please calm down. His subordinates were so frightened that they trembled. The 2nd division is very strong, so there shouldn't be any accidents. I think it won't be long before news comes back. The Nether Ancestor gradually calmed down. Indeed, the 2nd division was powerful. The division leader was an 8th heaven Venerable Realm expert. No one in Xia country could match him. Even those people from the Martial Alliance might not be able to defeat him. Let's wait a little longer. Let's wait another day. If there's no news after a day, let the 1st division take action, the Nether Ancestor said. Chapter 1340. Let's wait for one more day. If there's no news after one day, let the 1st division take action, the Netherworld Patriarch said. Don't worry, Hall Master. I'll definitely capture the enemy. A young man in his 30s said in a deep voice. He was wearing a black armor that made him look like a god of war. He was the leader of the 1st division, and his cultivation was at the peak of the 8th level Honorable Realm. The Netherworld Patriarch nodded in satisfaction. He was very satisfied with the 1st division. However, at this moment, the entire hall suddenly trembled as if an earthquake had occurred. Everyone's expression changed when they felt the impact. This was because it was impossible. Their hall was protected by countless formations. Even a 9th level Honorable Realm expert would not be able to shake it. However, such an incomparably sturdy great hall actually shook? How could they not be shocked? Netherworld Ancestor jumped to his feet and looked around in bewilderment. 2 rays of light burst out from his green eyes and swept across the area like a long blade. In the next moment, he seemed to have sensed something. His expression changed drastically, and he quickly flew outside like a ghost. When the other people in the hall saw this, they followed one after another. When they walked out of the main hall and looked into the distance, everyone was stunned. They saw a young man descending from the sky. The Netherworld Hall's headquarters had trembled under his feet. This young man was naturally Lin Xian. After he learned that it was the Black Heaven sect, he quickly rushed over. However, when he arrived at the Black Heaven sect, he realized that the situation was worse than he had imagined. This was because the Netherworld Hall had completely turned into their headquarters. The people from the Black Heaven sect were nowhere to be seen. Lin Xian looked at his surroundings and sighed inwardly. The Black Heaven sect was only a 2-star sect. It was impossible for them to fight against the Netherworld Hall. Moreover, it was not just the Black Heaven sect. The entire Xia country's sects and forces had been destroyed. Not many people were still alive. The Swordpool Mansion was able to survive because of the sea god's ice. No one could break through that kind of ice, which was why it was intact. No one was injured, and no one died. However, the other sects were not so lucky. The Netherworld Hall was a demonic sect. Their methods were extremely cruel. One could imagine the fate of those people. The old sect was no more. The only thing Lin Xian could do was to kill the people of the Nether Hall and avenge the Black Heaven sect. Just as Xiao Chun was thinking, 2 Nether Hall cultivators flew over and shouted coldly, "Who are you? You actually dared to trespass into the Nether Hall. Quickly kneel down and accept your death." In the next moment, 2 black spears shot towards Lin Xian like venomous snakes. As expected of the Nether Hall's headquarters, Just the guards at the entrance were at the first heaven of the exalted realm. The two spears whistled through the air, turning into black afterimages as they quickly pierced towards Lin Xian. But in the next moment, it stopped 10 meters away from Lin Xian. There seemed to be an invisible force. He grabbed two spears. In the next moment, the two spears quickly shattered, turning into molten iron and dissipating in the air. Countless cracks appeared on the bodies of the two Black Dragon Church's disciples that were guarding the entrance. Like shattered porcelain, they exploded with a loud bang. Throughout the entire process, Lin Xian did not even make a move. He only glanced at the two of them, and this happened. This scene stunned the surrounding cultivators who wanted to rush over. However, it angered the Netherworld ancestor who was in the main hall. He did not expect that someone would dare to cause trouble in his territory. This was a slap to his face. If news of this spread and the other halls heard about it, how was he going to survive in the future? In fact, the Netherworld ancestor did not even need to say anything. His subordinates had already begun to gather people and counterattack. After all, this was the headquarters of the Nether Hall. There were many powerhouses here. In the blink of an eye, dozens of figures rushed towards Lin Xian. These people were all powerhouses. Most of them were at the 7th heaven of the exalted realm. The weakest among them was at the 6th heaven of the exalted realm. It was indeed shocking to see them attacking together. This was because they would only send out such a lineup to deal with the super elders of the Martial Alliance. But now, the Nether Hall was using them to deal with a 20-year-old young man. However, this outcome was not something that anyone could have imagined. Bang, 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 bang. Dozens of figures rushed over at lightning speed. However, when they were about 10 feet away from Lin Xian, they seemed to have hit an iron wall. There was a violent tremor. Was this a defensive wall? It was formless and intangible. Was he a wind-based cultivator? The Netherworld ancestor narrowed his eyes. He had to admit that this young man's strength had exceeded his expectations to be able to block dozens of 7th heaven venerables in an instant. No wonder he was so bold to attack the headquarters of the Nether Hall. However, in the next moment, he revealed a cruel smile. This was because he knew that his subordinate's strength was not limited to this. On the side, the black-armored young man from the 1st Division nodded slightly. Looking at this guy's strength, he should be at the 8th heaven of the Venerable Realm. Moreover, his use of the wind-based technique is extremely exquisite. Not bad. This is interesting, a bald old man said indifferently. He was the law enforcement elder of the Nether Hall. However, it's impossible for him to block my law enforcement team with such strength. I think that person can only block one attack. He definitely won't be able to block the second attack. The upper echelons of the Nether Hall looked at the situation below and discussed among themselves. However, none of them had the intention to attack. This was because in their opinion, Lin Xian was not worth their time. The dozens of 7th heaven venerables frowned when they saw this. However, in the next moment, they quickly pulled out their weapons. Sabers, swords, spears. All the weapons shone with a cold light and were imbued with powerful spiritual energy. They stabbed forward fiercely. That kid is finished. Seeing this, the law enforcement elder revealed a ferocious expression. However, in the next moment, his smile froze. This was because Lin Xian in front of him had moved. He looked at the cultivators who were charging at him from all directions and snorted coldly. It was as if countless thunderbolts had exploded. The dozens of 7th heaven venerables around him suddenly exploded and turned into piles of blood mist that drifted in the air. Then, a strong wind swept past and blew away all the blood mist. What? How is this possible? Seeing this, the upper echelons of the Nether Hall were all stunned. Dead? Dozens of 7th heaven venerables died in an instant? What exactly is going on? They did not see the other party attack at all. They only heard the other party snort coldly, and the dozens of Nether Hall experts around them exploded and died. What kind of technique was this? They had never heard of it before. At this moment, even the Nether ancestor's face darkened. His green eyes shone with a cold light. He knew that he had underestimated the mysterious young man in front of him. After killing dozens of 7th heaven venerables, Lin Xian was expressionless as he strode forward. His pitch-black eyes were extremely cold and carried a strong, murderous aura as he scanned the 4 houses. Chapter 1341. Lin Xian was expressionless after killing more than a dozen 7th-level honorables. He strode forward. His pitch-black eyes were cold and filled with killing intent as he scanned the 4 houses. In the next moment, a sharp aura spread out in all directions with Lin Xian as the center. Instantly, the surrounding Black Dragon sect disciples were terrified and began to tremble. Even the expressions of the Nether Hall's higher-ups changed. This killing intent was too terrifying. They had never felt it before. The Nether Hall ancestor's face was terrifyingly gloomy. His eyes emitted a green light. With a cold snort, a powerful force erupted from his body and swept through heaven and earth. That was the power of a 9th-level honorable. It was extremely terrifying. At this moment, it was like a demon god was above everyone, quickly blocking the killing intent released by Lin Xian. He had to make a move because the other party's killing intent was too terrifying. It made him shudder. If he did not make a move, his subordinates would not be able to resist at all. In the face of the Nether Hall ancestors' counterattack, Lin Xian did not care at all. He was like a god of death as he walked on the mountain path. This was his former sect. However, at this moment, all his old friends were gone. Only these people from the demonic sect were here. Thinking of all this, Lin Xian could not control the killing intent in his heart. All of you must die. In the next moment, Lin Xian's killing intent became even more intense. Not only that, but there was also a blue aura surrounding him, releasing a terrifying chill. As soon as the aura was released, endless frost formed around him and spread rapidly. Everywhere it passed, it seemed to become a world of ice and snow. Previously, Lin Xian had absorbed a lot of the sea god's ice's chill. At this moment, its power was finally revealed. Those martial artists who were close to the Nether Hall did not have time to escape. They were covered by the blue frost and turned into ice men. It was not just the surface. Their internal organs and blood were all frozen, and they died in an instant. Wherever Lin Xian passed, he left behind frozen corpses. Go, go! We must stop him! Seeing this bizarre scene, the law enforcement elder's heart began to pound. He hurriedly ordered his subordinates to kill this person at all costs. Otherwise, the entire Nether Hall would have been sealed in ice by him. In the next moment, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd enforcement teams were dispatched. These people were dressed in black, and their expressions were cold. They were like killing machines without any emotions at all. They were originally born to kill, and their hands were stained with endless blood. At this moment, they had been summoned by the law enforcement elder to attack Lin Xian with all their might. Lin Xian's expression was cold as he punched out. Boom! The bodies of the 10 people at the front suddenly exploded, turning into a bloody mist. Following this, under the effects of the ice energy, they turned into countless pieces of ice and fell to the ground. Boom! Another 10 people exploded and turned into a bloody mist. Then, they were frozen again and fell to the ground. In next to no time, the 1st enforcement team, the 2nd enforcement team, and the 3rd enforcement team were all annihilated and turned into a pile of ice crystals and rotten flesh that fell to the ground. The surroundings were silent. Only the whistling of the cold wind could be heard, carrying with it a cold killing intent. In the blink of an eye, the members of the 3rd enforcement team were all killed, turning into countless pieces of ice that fell to the ground. The people of the Nether Hall were completely stunned. As members of the demonic sect, they had killed many people in the past. Each of them had hundreds or thousands of lives on their bodies. However, at this moment, seeing this scene, their scalps went numb. That was because they had never seen such a way of killing people. No matter who it was, whether it was a 7th-level venerable or a spirit-detecting realm martial artist, they were all killed with a single punch. There was no difference. It was as if in the eyes of the other party, they were all ants that could not resist at all. Therefore, even though these people had experienced countless killings, their hearts were cold and their bodies were trembling at this moment. Even the high-ranking elders in the main hall were extremely shocked. They had never heard of such a killing method before. If Lin Xian's previous actions had shocked them, The current situation had terrified them. The three enforcement teams each had 50 people, and they were all 7th level venerables. In total, there were 150 people. It could be said that it was an extremely terrifying force. However, such a powerful team had been killed in an instant. They could not fight back at all. This made them unable to believe it. Impossible. This was impossible. Even an 8th level venerable could not do that. Who exactly was he? The enforcement elder shook his head frantically, his eyes filled with fear. That was because he knew the strength of his subordinates the best. Even an 8th level venerable could not fight against the 3 teams he had sent out just now. However, the other party had done it. This made him unable to believe it. Could the other party be a 9th level venerable? But how is that possible? How old was he? He was only 20 years old. There were not many 9th level venerables at such a young age in the Black Dragon sect. Moreover, the Black Dragon sect had used external forces to increase their strength. The other party was not from the Black Dragon sect, so how could he have such a cultivation level? Who was he? Who exactly was he? Was he from the Martial Alliance? Or was he a powerhouse that they did not know about? For a moment, those people were all stunned. However, just as these people were in shock, Lin Xian moved again. His figure flashed, and like a bolt of blue lightning, he charged towards the main hall in front of him. In the next moment, he arrived in front of these people. With a wave of his palm, a terrifying blue palm like a dragon grabbed the enforcement elder's head. Boom! In the next moment, the enforcement elder's head exploded like a watermelon, and the pungent smell of blood instantly filled the air. Even the blood splattered on the faces of the surrounding elders. What? Impossible! These people screamed. They could not believe that the enforcement elder had died in front of them just like that. That was the enforcement elder. He was extremely powerful and could definitely be ranked in the top 5 in the Netherworld Hall. However, at this moment, he could not fight back at all and had been killed so easily. Demon, you're a demon. Who are you? Who exactly are you? Impossible. How can you be so strong? At this moment, the experts of the Netherworld Hall were terrified and kept screaming. They were usually high and mighty, slaughtering the people of the Xia country and looking down on everyone else. However, they did not expect that one day, they would become lambs waiting to be slaughtered in the eyes of others. At this moment, they finally experienced the fear of the weak. This fear was like a demon that suppressed the pain in their throats and pulled them into the abyss of hell. Who am I? I'm a disciple of the Black Heaven sect, and I'm here to seek revenge. Lin Xian's voice was cold and filled with endless chill. What? You're a disciple of the Black Heaven sect? That's impossible. How is this possible? Hearing this, the elders of the Netherworld Hall were terrified. Chapter 1342. They had personally destroyed the Black Heaven sect. A 2-star sect had been destroyed without much effort at that time. However, a mysterious young man had appeared and claimed to be a disciple of the Black Heaven sect. He wanted to take revenge on them. How could they believe this? If the Black Heaven sect really had such a terrifying disciple, they would not have been able to kill him so easily back then. That's impossible. You can't figure it out, right? Then go to hell and figure it out for me. Lin Xian's expression was cold, and his eyes were overflowing with killing intent. His 5 fingers formed a claw and quickly grabbed another person. This time, his target was the young man in black armor. It was the first branch master of the Nether Hall. You're courting death. Get out of my way. The first branch master roared angrily and erupted with a tyrannical aura. In the next moment, he shot up into the sky like a bolt of black lightning. Faced with Lin Xian's strength, he did not dare to resist at all, so he could only escape. However, in the next moment, he despaired. That was because the palm still forcibly grabbed his head and dragged him to the ground. Boom! His huge body was pulled down from the sky and slammed into the ground. A vigorous and powerful palm firmly grabbed his head, and a terrifying killing intent and cold aura poured into his body through the palm. Feeling the terrifying killing intent and cold aura, the first branch master was terrified. He knew that he had no way out. He could only fight to the death to seize a chance of survival. Therefore, in the next moment, he roared and quickly burned all the spiritual power in his body. He punched out with both fists like a ferocious beast, fiercely smashing toward Lin Xian. As long as he injured the other party, he would have a chance to escape. When the Netherworld sect's ancestor intervened, they would be saved. Boom! The first branch master's fists fiercely collided with a low sound, but it did not hit Lin Xian. Instead, it hit the blue ice wall in front of Lin Xian. Although the power was terrifying, it could not shake the ice wall at all. Not only that, the terrifying rebound force broke the first branch master's fists. Moreover, the blue ice wall emitted a terrifying chill. Countless cold aura spread along the first branch master's fists, and soon his arms were frozen. Lin Xian flicked his finger, and the two arms turned into countless fragments that scattered on the ground. With his arms crippled, the first division leader let out a blood-curdling scream. His handsome face was incomparably pale, and his eyes were filled with terror. His body was trembling. "Go to hell and repent," Lin Xian said coldly, his voice filled with endless killing intent. Boom! The head of the first division leader exploded, and the headless corpse was instantly sealed in ice, turning into an ice sculpture. What? This was impossible. The first branch leader is also dead? When they witnessed this scene, all the surviving elders of the Nether Hall turned pale with fright. It was different from the law enforcers who had died before. This time, it was the first branch leader. That was in existence at the peak of the 8th Heaven Venerable Realm. He was ranked 3rd in the entire Nether Hall, and he was very young. His future was limitless. There were even rumors that he could become the next Hall Master of the Nether Hall. However, such a young genius was killed by a single palm strike. Perhaps even the Netherworld ancestor couldn't do it. What was the cultivation level of this young man? 9th Heaven Venerable? Or even higher? Could he really be a disciple of the Black Heaven sect? At this moment, the eyes of the Nether Hall elders were filled with despair. If they had known that the Black Heaven sect had such a powerful disciple, they wouldn't have dared to provoke him even if they were beaten to death. Kill him. Only by killing him can we live. Immediately, two angry roars were heard. Two elders quickly burned their spiritual power to obtain great power and quickly charged toward Lin Xian. These elders of the Nether Hall knew that if they didn't kill Lin Xian, they wouldn't be able to escape. Therefore, in an instant, they charged toward Lin Xian with the determination to die. The two elders who attacked first even burned all the spiritual power in their bodies and exploded with unparalleled power. The elder in green robes on the left held a long saber that was as thin as a cicada's wing. He quickly slashed toward Lin Xian. The saber light was as cold as moonlight. Wherever it passed, the entire void was cut in half. The elder in white robes on the right held a long spear in his hand. He looked like a god of war as his entire body emitted a dazzling golden light. The long spear in his hand turned into an angry dragon that roared as it charged forward. These two elders were both at the peak of 8th Heaven Honorable Realm. Now that they were burning their spiritual power, they exploded with power that was comparable to a 9th Heaven Honorable Realm cultivator. Even a 9th Heaven Honorable Realm cultivator might not be able to withstand the full power of these two elders. At this moment, two fierce attacks instantly pierced toward Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian sneered and reached out his left hand to grab the long green saber. There were black patterns on his palm that looked like demonic patterns that emitted a blazing aura. It was the 9 underworld black flames. Meanwhile, his right hand clenched into a fist and punched out. His fist was covered in a thick blue icy aura as it quickly blasted to the right. "You're courting death." Seeing that Lin Xian was actually grabbing their treasured weapons with his bare hands, the two elders sneered. Cold light bloomed in their eyes as their strength became even more terrifying. In their opinion, Lin Xian was simply too arrogant for daring to fight against the two of them at the same time. Moreover, he was doing it with his bare hands. They had to make use of this rare opportunity to kill him. The saber flashed and soon collided with the palm that was covered in black patterns. However, it did not cut off the other party's palm as expected. Instead, The long green saber quickly melted under the palm and turned into a pool of molten iron. What? This is impossible. The green-robed elder screamed. His eyes were filled with fear. He could not believe that his strongest attack had been so easily neutralized by the other party. Not only that, even his green saber had been melted by the other party. What kind of move was this? It was so terrifying. The green-robed elder turned around and fled with fear in his eyes. He now understood that the mysterious young man in front of him had a cultivation that was definitely beyond his understanding. Perhaps even their hall master might not be able to fight against him, let alone him. The only thing he could do now was to run. He had to run for his life. However, just as he turned around, Lin Xian's black palm grabbed him. Immediately, countless black flames jumped and burned the green-robed elder to ashes. With a scream, the green-robed elder disappeared completely. At the same time, Lin Xian's right fist blasted out. With an unparalleled icy aura, it fiercely hit the long spear. Bang! Icy aura gushed out and emitted a terrifying chill. Immediately, the white-robed elder was frozen into an ice sculpture. The terrifying fist hit the ice and shattered it into countless pieces. In an instant, the two elders who had burned their spiritual power and attacked with all their might were killed. The whole process seemed to take a long time, but it actually happened in an instant. Therefore, before the people around them could react, the two elders were already dead. The Netherworld ancestor was completely stunned. His eyes were filled with horror. Chapter 1343. From the very beginning, he did not take the other party seriously. Later on, he was shocked and surprised. Now, he was filled with fear. This was because his subordinates, the second and third strongest of the Nether Hall, as well as all the elders, had been easily killed by the other party. Now, he was the only one left. The reason he was able to survive until now was not because he was powerful, but because the other party did not attack him. If the other party had attacked him, even if he was a ninth heaven honorable, he would not have been able to resist. It's over. It's really over this time. The Nether ancestor's face was filled with despair. The other party was too powerful. Moreover, the other party would not let them go because the other party was from the Black Heaven sect. The Nether Hall had once destroyed the Black Heaven sect. Now that the other party had come to seek revenge, how could they let him go? It was laughable that he had been so confident that the other party was courting death by coming to their base camp. Now, it seemed that they were the ones courting death. If they had run away when the other party attacked, they might have been able to survive. However, it was too late now. Lin Xian's expression was cold as he looked at the Nether ancestor. The Nether Hall has done many evil things. How dare you attack the Black Heaven sect? Since you've touched my bottom line, you can die now. At the end of his sentence, Lin Xian's expression suddenly became ferocious, and his eyes shone brightly. Soul-searching skill. Then, his soul power gushed out and turned into a sharp awl that pierced the Nether ancestor's head. The next moment, the Nether ancestor screamed as he held his head. His eyes rolled back and his body twitched as if he was in great pain. He was indeed in pain because his soul power had been severely damaged. This kind of pain was 10 times more painful than physical injuries. Lin Xian had no intention of letting him go. Therefore, he forcefully searched the Nether ancestor's soul to obtain information. Soon, Lin Xian stopped. The Nether ancestor's soul power had been completely destroyed. He fell to the ground and twitched. Lin Xian waved his hand, and an icy long sword appeared at his fingertips. He immediately pierced the Nether ancestor on the ground and stared at the ground. From then on, all the martial artists in the Nether Hall's base camp were killed. Lin Xian, on the other hand, looked at the sky and sighed. My fellow disciples of the Black Heaven sect, rest in peace. Then, the 9 underworlds' black flame gushed out and burned all the blood from the corpses. Soon, the entire mountain was restored to its original state. After doing all this, an endless amount of ice chi erupted from his body and quickly spread in all directions. Instantly, the entire Black Heaven sect was frozen, forming an ice palace. Under the sun, the newly formed ice palace shone with blue light. Although the people of the Black Sky sect were no longer around, Lin Xian wanted the Black Sky sect to continue existing, so he sealed it in ice. No one below the King realm could break through it. This could be considered as allowing the Xintian sect to continue existing as an alternative. After doing all this, Lin Xian's figure flashed and turned into a sword light, disappearing on the spot. He had just used the soul-searching technique and obtained a lot of important information. This netherworld old ancestor was worthy of being one of the 8 Great Hall Masters. He knew a lot more than the previous 2nd Division Master. Even some core secrets were known to Lin Xian. For example, the 2nd Division Master did not know the origin of the mysterious crystal at all, but the netherworld old ancestor knew. However, this result surprised Lin Xian because he did not expect that the place where the mysterious crystal first appeared was related to him. It was the demon abyss that he had once gone to. In the past, there was a mysterious area near the Black Heaven sect that was known as a forbidden area. That was the demon abyss. He remembered that the demon abyss had spat out a magical stone that contained a strange energy. Back then, as a disciple of the Black Heaven sect, he had fought over it once. He had even entered the demon abyss and found countless stone tablets, as well as the afterimages of experts fighting. Fortunately, Lord Alcohol was there, so he could leave safely. At that time, he felt that the demon abyss was extremely mysterious. However, he was weak and did not have the ability to investigate it. Later on, he did not bother about it and gradually forgot about it. Half a year ago, a mysterious crystal appeared in the demon abyss that could greatly increase a warrior's cultivation. It was also from then on that disaster began. As the Black Heaven sect was the closest to the demon abyss, it was directly destroyed by the Netherworld Hall. Not only that, but the entire mountain was also occupied by the Netherworld Hall. However, from the information obtained from the Netherworld Old Ancestor Soul, the demon abyss seemed to have changed and become a forbidden area. Not to mention ordinary people, even 9th-level venerables would definitely die if they walked in. Moreover, it was said that the Black Dragon cult's leader personally found the source of the mysterious crystal and took it away, placing it in another place. From then on, the Black Dragon cult became dominant. Lin Xian was very curious about the demon abyss, so he discussed it with the Crimson Dragon, Murong Qingqing, and the others and decided to take a look. Soon, the spirit boat glided through the air and arrived near the demon abyss. Lin Xian and the others did not rashly move forward because they felt a sense of danger. That aura even made the Crimson Dragon turn serious. "Ruzalong, what did you find?" Lin Xian asked. The Crimson Dragon muttered in disbelief. After a long time, he slowly said, "This seems to be the power of a domain." "Domain? Are you talking about a king's domain?" Lin Xian was shocked. At the side, Murong Qingqing's expression was also serious. "No, it does seem like a domain. I've seen this power on the Patriarch before." The Patriarch that Murong Qingqing mentioned was naturally the king of the Murong family. Since both of them said so, it seemed that the invisible power ahead was a king's domain. But how is that possible? How can there be a king's domain in front of us? Lin Xian could not understand. Could there be a king in the demon abyss? After thinking about it, it seemed that this was the only possibility. It is indeed a king, and not just any king. Look at the aura of this domain. It's really terrifying. The Crimson Dragon's expression was serious. However, Lin Xian was even more confused. He said in a low voice, "If it's as you said, this is a king's domain. Those below the king level can't enter at all." "But that shouldn't be, because 5 years ago, I went in once." "What? You went in?" The Crimson Dragon and Murong Qingqing were shocked. Lin Xian nodded and then told them about his experience. After that, the Crimson Dragon and Murong Qingqing pondered, thinking about the possibilities. "According to what you said, 5 years ago, this place was not so terrifying. And the reason for such a terrifying change is that it has only been half a year." Murong Qingqing was very confused and couldn't figure out the reason. Although she had seen a king's domain, she was still a young person and did not know the true secrets of a king. The Crimson Dragon obviously knew more, because he used to be a king. "According to what you said, I seem to have thought of a possibility, but it's too shocking. I don't really believe it." The Crimson Dragon shook his head slightly. Chapter 1344. Continue to explode. Requesting votes. Requesting support. Requesting subscriptions. The Crimson Dragon obviously knew more, because he was once a king. According to what you said, I seem to have thought of a possibility, but it's too shocking. I don't really believe it. The Crimson Dragon shook his head slightly. Boy, I have to say, your Tianin region Xia Kingdom is really amazing. First there was the mysterious sea god's ice, and now there's the king's domain. It's hard to imagine that such a thing would appear in a small, remote country. What's going on? Tell us clearly. Don't keep us in suspense. Murong Qingsheng asked curiously. Lin Xian was also anxious. Ruzalong, hurry up and tell us. The Crimson Dragon quickly shook his head. No, this is just my guess. It's too scary to say it out loud. Ruzalong shook his head, refusing to say anything. However, he did not give up on his research. If we can find a piece of that mysterious crystal, it might be of great help to us. Mysterious crystal? Hearing this, Lin Xian pondered. He had indeed obtained some information from the Netherworld ancestors' memories. If you want to find that stone, maybe I have a way, Lin Xian said. Because in a month, the Black Dragon will have a grand meeting. At that time, all the halls and subordinate sects will come to participate. The purpose of that meeting seems to be to distribute the mysterious crystal. There's such a thing? Then we must go and see. The Crimson Dragon was excited. Only by finding the mysterious crystal and understanding what it was could they crack the true secret of the Devil's Abyss. Murong Qingsheng was also curious. Because even though she was the little princess of the House of Kings, she had never heard of that mysterious crystal. Therefore, she wanted to see it for herself. The Dark and Light Conference. In a month, it will be held in the Barbaric Mountains. Lin Xian told her what he knew. Then what are you waiting for? Let's go. The Crimson Dragon urged. Murong Qingsheng frowned and said, We are not from the Black Dragon sect. If we go there, won't we be walking right into their trap? What's there to be afraid of? At worst, we'll just charge in. I don't believe that group of trash can stop us. The Crimson Dragon shook its head and wagged its tail disdainfully. Don't act recklessly. Don't be impulsive. After all, the Black Dragon sect has a king. Moreover, there are quite a few half-step kings. Therefore, we shouldn't act rashly in this meeting. Why don't we take a look around first? Lin Xian said cautiously. Everyone nodded in agreement to Lin Xian's suggestion. Then, they flew toward the southern Desolation Mountain Range. The Dark and Light Assembly was a grand event of the Black Dragon cult. The geniuses and elites of all the major halls would gather there. Although the Black Dragon sect was huge and was a demonic sect, it was divided into many small groups. Chapter 1345. Soon, the huge golden palanquin stopped above Lin Xian and the rest. Among them, the two short venerables at the front slowly opened the curtains of the palanquin and knelt down in the air. In the next moment, a figure walked out of the palanquin. It was a young man in a black robe. His face was pale as if he was sick. His eyes were somewhat sinister and emitted an evil light. Beside him were two young women. They were being held in his bosom. The two women were very enchanting and wore very revealing clothes. Their eyes were like hooks that could take away one's soul. The sickly young man stood in the air with the two beauties in his arms, and then looked down. Finally, he locked his gaze on Lin Xian and the rest. His body swayed, and he landed on the ground with the two young women. In the sky, for short venerables stayed in place while the other four landed with him. The moment the young man landed, his gaze was fixed on Murong Qingsheng. A flickering light burst out from his dark eyes, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a sinister smile. Beauty, you are indeed a peerless beauty. The young man laughed wildly and was very excited. He was like a hungry wolf that had encountered a delicious meal. On the other hand, the two young girls beside him were obviously not happy. They kept sizing up Murong Qingsheng with cold eyes. To be honest, the two of them were considered beauties, but compared to Murong Qingsheng, the difference was like heaven and earth. At this moment, they saw the young man staring at Morong Qingcheng. Of course, they were unhappy. However, the young man did not care about this at all. He stared at Morong Qingcheng and almost drooled. Beauty, why are you alone in the wilderness? Aren't you afraid of danger? Are you also here to participate in the Darklight Convention? Come, 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 follow me. I guarantee that you will be very comfortable. The young man stared at Morong Qingcheng and smiled evilly. Lin Xian, who was standing at the side, was very displeased. Didn't he see that there were 3 people standing next to her? Moreover, the other party actually dared to poach him. He was really courting death. Therefore, he asked coldly, "Who are you?" Lin Xian's words made the evil youth frown impatiently. What a piece of trash. You don't even know who I am? He glanced at Lin Xian, then raised his eyebrows and stared at Luo Bingshan. Although the falling ice mountain was wearing a golden mask and his face couldn't be seen clearly, there was nothing to say about his figure. Not only that, but she also exuded a cold and noble aura, as if she was a high and mighty queen. This aura was fatal to the evil youth. Soon, he started drooling as he stared at Luo Bingshan. Beautiful, truly beautiful. I didn't expect there to be such a peerless beauty. Although he's wearing a golden mask, it's more artistic and attractive. However, the only pity is that the 2 beauties actually followed a trash. At the end of his speech, the evil youth looked at Lin Xian. However, his gaze was icy cold. Kid, you can scram now. This young master will spare your life for the sake of the 2 beauties. Hurry up and scram. Hearing those words, Lin Xian laughed. It was a laugh of disdain. This guy in front of him was really an idiot. He couldn't even see the situation clearly and dared to scold him. He narrowed his eyes and coldly asked, "You're here to participate in the Darklight Assembly?" Nonsense. If I'm not participating in the Darklight Assembly, why would I come to this remote mountain? Kid, this young master is in a good mood and won't kill you. Hurry up and scram. Otherwise, if I change my mind, even 10,000 lives won't be enough for you. So, you have the Black Dragon token on you? Lin Xian asked again. Of course I do. What? Don't tell me you don't even have the Black Dragon token. Which hall are you from? Without the Black Dragon token, you dare to secretly participate in the Darklight Assembly? You're courting death. Hearing that the other party had the Black Dragon token, Lin Xian smiled with satisfaction. At the side, the Crimson Dragon also opened its mouth and laughed like an old monster. That's great. After waiting for so long, I finally got a Black Dragon token. I didn't expect it to come to me on its own accord. Kid, if you want to blame someone, blame your bad luck for coming to me on your own accord. The Crimson Dragon laughed wildly. Lin Xian also said coldly, hand over the Black Dragon token, and I'll leave you with an intact corpse. Are you threatening me? The evil youth sneered. He sneered disdainfully. It seems that you really don't know who I am. That's true. I've been cultivating and only recently appeared. Not many people in the Black Dragon sect know me. But don't worry. After the Darklight Assembly, the world will definitely know the name of Hua Wufeng. Not many people know you. That's even better. Lin Xian's smile grew wider. He didn't expect the heavens to send him such a treasure. Thinking of this, he took a step forward and sneered. I really can't think of any reason why I should let you go. Impudent. Seeing this scene, Hua Wufeng's face finally sank. Go, break his legs. Make him kneel on the ground and beg me like a dog. As soon as he finished speaking, a short honorable walked out. Like a ghost, he quickly charged towards Lin Xian. He was so fast that ordinary honorables couldn't see him at all. In an instant, he was in front of Lin Xian. His hands were like heavenly hammers as they slammed towards Lin Xian's knees. As soon as the 2 short honorables attacked, a ray of light appeared in front of Lin Xian. It was extremely sharp and instantly slashed towards them. In the next moment, the 2 short honorables screamed in pain as they were split in half. Blood splattered everywhere as they fell to the ground. What? You dare kill my people? Seeing this, the evil youth was finally enraged. The 8 short honorables were his subordinates. On the surface, they were carrying his palanquin, but in reality, They were his guards. Each of them was a seventh heaven honorable. When the 8 of them worked together, even an 8th heaven honorable was no match for them. But now, one of them had been killed. How could he accept this? However, what surprised him was that it wasn't the young man in front of him who attacked. It was the peerless beauty with a golden mask. He didn't expect the beauty to have such sharp saber techniques. The killing intent that she emitted was even more terrifying than his guards. Such killing intent couldn't be produced out of thin air. It could only be condensed by killing countless people. He realized that he had underestimated the people in front of him. Who are you? Which hall are you from? Don't you know who I am? Let me tell you. I'm the disciple of the third guardian. How dare you kill my people? Kneel down and wait for your punishment. Hua Wufeng said arrogantly. If the disciples of the Black Dragon sect heard this, they would definitely kneel on the ground in fear. That was because he was the disciple of the third guardian. His status was too high. Chapter 1346. How dare you kill my people? Kneel down and await your punishment. Hua Wufeng said proudly. If the disciples of the Black Dragon religion heard this, they would have knelt down in fear. Hua Wufeng was the disciple of the third guardian. His position was too high. The highest position in the Black Dragon religion was the patriarch. Below him were the left and right emissaries, the left emissary of the Azure Dragon and the right emissary of the unfettered emissary. Then there were the 4 great guardians and the 8 great halls. In other words, the third protector was a terrifying existence, who was even more powerful than the 8 hall leaders. Hua Wufeng was the youngest disciple of the third guardian. He was also the third guardian's favorite disciple. However, Hua Wufeng had been cultivating with the third guardian since he was young. He was only released when the Dark and Light Conference was about to take place. Almost no one knew who Hua Wufeng was. However, no one in the Black Dragon religion would dare to offend him if he revealed his identity. Unfortunately, Lin Xian was not a member of the Black Dragon religion. Therefore, he did not do anything even after hearing Hua Wufeng's identity. Instead, his murderous intent grew stronger. I didn't expect you to have such an important identity. Since that's the case, I can't let you live. Lin Xian unleashed a boundless sword intent that sealed off the space. The Crimson Dragon waved its claws and formed a formation that encapsulated the Golden Palanquin and the 4 martial highnesses. You dare to attack me? Hua Wufeng was enraged. However, his eyes widened when he observed Lin Xian and the others. You're not from the Black Dragon religion. Isn't it too late to realize it now? Lin Xian smirked coldly. Go. All of you go. Kill him. Hua Wufeng roared furiously. Kill this kid and the snake. Also, capture these 2 beauties alive for me. Make sure you don't hurt their faces. Immediately, the 3 short 7th-layer martial highnesses and the 2 beautiful women beside them immediately made their moves. The 3 short venerables transformed into phantoms and charged toward Lin Xian. The 2 young and beautiful women among them drew 2 long swords that glinted with cold light and slashed at the dark red divine dragon with all their might. The demonic shadows were extremely fast and powerful. In an instant, Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon were surrounded. The next moment, crack, 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 bang, bang. Lin Xian's kick landed on the 3 short, 7th-type sovereigns. Their bodies instantly exploded in the air and turned into a bloody mist. The 2 young women screamed as they were killed by the Crimson Dragon's claws. Fresh blood flowed, and the pungent smell of blood filled the air. However, it was burned to ashes by Lin Xian's black flames in an instant. You. This time, Hua Wufeng's expression finally changed. He did not expect the man and the snake in front of him to be so powerful that they could instantly kill his guards. Those were 7th-level venerables, and there were 5 of them. If they attacked together, they would be extremely powerful. Even he would not be able to kill them completely. However, the other party had done it so easily. Didn't this mean that the other party's cultivation was higher than his? But how was that possible? He was an 8th-level venerables and was extremely powerful. That was why his master had allowed him to come out alone. Although he had never traveled the underworld, he knew a lot of information. He knew that with his 8th level Venerable's cultivation and his status, he could definitely dominate the entire Tianan region. No one would dare to provoke him. However, he did not expect to encounter such a disaster as soon as he came out in this barren mountain. Originally, he did not pay attention to Lin Xian and the others because he could not detect their auras. Although this made him a little suspicious, in his opinion, these people's auras were too weak to be worth mentioning. However, now that he thought about it, that was not the case. The other party's cultivation was obviously higher than his, so he could not detect their auras. Stop fighting. I'll give you whatever you want, Hua Wufeng quickly said when he saw the murderous Lin Xian. He had been cultivating in seclusion since he was young and had never experienced a battle. Therefore, he was stunned when he saw the blood. What do I want? I want your life. Lin Xian sneered and stretched out his hand to grab the air in front of him. You're courting death. Hua Wufeng was enraged and threw a punch. His lungs were about to explode because he thought that he had already given in. However, the other party was still unyielding. He was truly infuriated. Therefore, in the next moment, he could no longer care about anything else. He quickly gathered his spiritual power and threw a punch. Although the other party was mysterious and powerful, he was not weak either. Furthermore, this punch contained all his strength. He believed that he could definitely destroy the other party. However, he soon realized that he was wrong. This was because his fist did not cause any damage to the other party's palm. Instead, his own bones quickly broke because of the impact. The pain caused him to scream in agony. However, this was not the end. In the next moment, a powerful hand grabbed his head. Then, he felt a piercing pain in his head, as if an invisible force was trying to forcibly retrieve his memories. The pain caused him to pass out. Soon, Lin Xian found all the information. Then, he waved his finger and the storage ring on the ground floated into his hand. Hua Wufeng's body was quickly burned until nothing was left. After obtaining the other party's storage ring, Lin Xian probed it with his spiritual power and found a black dragon token inside. With a satisfied smile, Lin Xian said, "Let's go. We can go to the Darklight Convention now." Then, the group of people soared up into the sky. In the sky, the remaining 4 short venerables were trapped by the formation set up by the Crimson Dragon and were trying their best to break it. However, with their strength, they could not break it. Lin Xian did not kill them. Instead, he planted a beast slave seal on each of them and turned them into puppets. Then, he led Morong Qingsheng and the rest into the golden palanquin. If he wanted to plant a beast slave seal on a peak expert like Luo Bingshan, he might need to use 10,000 bee sting. However, for a 7th layer venerable, there was no need for 10,000 bee sting. Lin Xian could do it himself. After all, his current spiritual power was extremely powerful. Even a half-step king might not be able to compare to it. Let's go. Lin Xian sat in the golden palanquin and issued the order. Savage Mountain Range, a valley. This was the Southern Desolation ancient city, a city left behind from the ancient times. It was also the location of the Darklight Convention. At this moment, the Southern Desolation ancient city was bustling with noise and excitement. However, they were not ordinary disciples. Only the genius elite disciples of the various halls could come here. Ordinary Black Dragon cult disciples could not even dream of coming here. Among them, there were many newcomers participating in the Darklight Convention for the first time. They looked at the experts and elders with their mouths wide open. It was hard for them to imagine that there would be so many powerful venerables in this ancient city. Branchmaster, it seems like there are quite a lot of people participating in the Darklight Convention this time. 2 figures stood on the street. One of them was a youth wearing a purple robe. Chapter 1347. Branch Leader. It seems that there are quite a lot of people participating in the Dark and Light Conference this time. 2 figures stood on the street. One of them was a young man in a purple robe. Not only was his robe purple, but his eyebrows, hair, and even his eyes were purple. His entire body was filled with an evil aura. Beside the young man stood a purple-haired old man. He was the one who had spoken earlier. The Purple Demon Hall was one of the 8 great halls of the Black Dragon cult. Lin Xian had fought with the Purple Demon Hall a few years ago. The young man in purple was an important figure in the Purple Demon Hall. It's nothing. This conference is the first since the restoration of the holy cult. Naturally, many people will come. The young man in purple said casually. He looked at the approaching figures with an arrogant face. I think the people from the 8 great halls will come. The purple-haired old man nodded slightly. Indeed, other than the 8 great halls, the disciples of the 4 great protectors will also come. Other than that, some clans and sects that have pledged allegiance to the holy cult will also send people. As he spoke, the young man in purple suddenly frowned and stared at a figure in front of him. Nangong Hao. I didn't expect him to come too. There was a tall young man in front of him. He was surrounded by countless warriors like stars surrounding the moon. It looked as if an emperor was on a journey. Nangong Hao. I didn't expect his cultivation to have improved again. The purple-haired old man's eyes flickered. This young man's talent is terrifying. Not only is his alchemy skills extraordinary, but his cultivation is also powerful. It is said that not long ago, he even fought with the first branch leader of the Divine Pill Hall and almost won. Although he is only the second branch leader, his reputation is not inferior to that of the first branch leader. The Divine Pill Hall has always been arrogant and claimed to be number 1. They don't put our Purple Demon Hall in their eyes. Therefore, there is no need for us to greet them this time. The young man in purple nodded coldly and turned to leave. But in the next moment, he stopped because he saw another figure. A handsome young man in a blood-red robe was walking forward. Beside him, there were 2 extremely enchanting women. Bloodhand. The young man in purple frowned slightly. At the side, the purple-haired old man also had a solemn expression. Bloodhand, the Blood Fiend Hall's first branch master. The competition between the 8 halls of the Black Dragon cult was extremely intense. Among them, the Divine Pill Hall had a very high status among the 8 halls because of its ability to refine pills. However, the strength of the Blood Fiend Hall in front of him was extremely terrifying. Not only that, the people of the Blood Fiend Hall were all killing gods. Every one of their hands was stained with the blood and sweat of countless people. Sometimes, they didn't even need to make a move. Just the killing intent on their bodies was enough to scare their enemies out of their wits. It could be said that the members of the Blood Fiend Hall were a group of blood fiend maniacs, and the blood-robed youth before him, Bloodhand, was the most representative figure among them. It seems that the Dark and Light Conference this time won't be peaceful. I didn't expect that even the Bloodhand would come. The purple-clad young man took a deep breath. The appearance of Nangong Hao and Bloodhand immediately attracted the attention of most people. Many people stared at the 2 people in the field with envy. At this moment, another commotion broke out in the crowd as another figure walked over quickly. This was a black-robed young man. His face was pale, as if he had never seen the sun. His eyes were very long and narrow, and when his gaze turned, there was a sinister aura. Ghostly it can't be, right? He's here too. Seeing the black-robed young man, the purple-haired old man's body trembled slightly. Nangong Hao and Bloodhand's reputations were already very tyrannical, but this black-robed young man who appeared before them was even more bizarre. Because he was the number 1 branch master of the Malicious Ghost Hall, Ghostly. The Malicious Ghost Hall was an extremely bizarre hall. They dealt with the dead and ghosts all year round, and it could be said that every one of them carried a sinister ghost aura. Among them, Ghostly was the most terrifying one. Legend had it that he had a white bone banner with 999 ghosts sealed on it. It was extremely terrifying. With a light wave, it could emit ghostly wails and howls, causing one's scalp to go numb. It could be said that they would rather offend Bloodhand than provoke Ghostly. The black-robed young man, Ghostly, slowly walked into the field with a sinister smile on his face. Immediately, Nangong Hao and Bloodhand frowned, and the surrounding Black Dragon sect cultivators pulled away with a whoosh. No one dared to stand together with Ghostly, hee. So lively. It's broad daylight. Why did a wild ghost like you come out? Just as everyone was alarmed, laughter suddenly rang out. Hearing this voice, everyone's bodies trembled, and their scalps went numb. They never imagined that someone would actually dare to joke with Ghostly in front of everyone. Could it be that he didn't want to live anymore? Everyone looked over, and they were all dumbfounded, because they didn't see anyone. Could it be an illusion? Just as everyone was bewildered, their eyelids suddenly twitched, because a figure was standing right in front of them. No one clearly saw how he appeared, as if he had been standing there before, but everyone knew that there was clearly no one there before. What a terrifying movement technique! Everyone was shocked. No wonder he dared to joke with Ghostly, seeing this figure. The purple-robed young man frowned, and even took 2 steps back. On the side, the purple-haired old man's voice trembled slightly. Assassination Hall's #1 branch master, shadowless. Come without a shadow, leave without a trace, and kill without a trace. This was everyone's evaluation of the Assassination Hall. No one knew when they would appear, and no one knew who they would kill, but when they attacked, there would definitely be experts who would fall. As expected of the Dark and Light Conference, to have gathered so many experts. The purple-haired old man took a deep breath, his voice trembling. Indeed, whether it was Nangong Hao, Bloodhand, Ghostly, Shadowless, or his purple demon hall, each of them was an extremely powerful existence. They were existences that could make everyone tremble. As soon as these 5 people appeared, they immediately attracted everyone's attention, and the 5 of them were filled with fighting spirit. Although they hadn't made a move yet, their invisible auras were already clashing. Crackle, bang, bang. The void vibrated, and a low sound was heard, as terrifying energy swept out in all directions. The energy was so terrifying that it caused the surrounding void to distort. The surrounding people were terrified, and they quickly retreated. Some of them were even slower, and their bodies trembled as if they had been struck by lightning. How terrifying! Was this the strength of the sacred sect's sky prides? The surrounding martial artists' hearts trembled. Gap, a huge gap. In front of these people, they didn't have any ability to resist, and they couldn't even block their auras. Everyone looked at the top 5 sky prides in front of them, terrified, and at the same time envious. However, at this moment, a golden palanquin suddenly appeared above their heads. Chapter 1348. A golden palanquin, like a golden flash, quickly flew over from the distance and stopped above the crowd. It wasn't just passing by. Instead, it stopped right there like a golden cloud, floating above everyone. Arrogant, too arrogant. Everyone looked up in shock. They had never seen such an entrance before. Wasn't he stepping on their heads to enter the stage? Even the previous geniuses didn't dare to do this. Who was this person? How dare he be so arrogant? The surrounding Black Dragon sect cultivators were unhappy, and the previous geniuses had gloomy expressions. Killing intent even appeared in their eyes. Who were they? They were all geniuses of their respective halls. They were existences that countless Black Dragon sect disciples could only look up to. They were usually high and mighty, and even the older generation figures treated them with courtesy. Who would dare to suppress them? But now, an inexplicable palanquin had stopped above their heads and didn't seem to have any intention of leaving. As geniuses, they couldn't bear it. In the distance, the purple-clothed youth's face was gloomy. He frowned and looked at the sky, puzzled. Could it be that some big shot from the Black Dragon sect is here? He couldn't think of any young generation that dared to be so arrogant. It could only be those older generation figures. However, the purple-haired old man frowned. The big shots of the Black Dragon sect always have a special style when they come out. But I can't think of any big shot that's in a golden palanquin. In fact, the surrounding people had already begun to guess. They didn't believe that this was something a young man could do. Below, the 5 outstanding geniuses didn't speak. Their eyes flickered, and they concealed their anger well. Because if the other party was an older generation figure, they really couldn't say anything. Just as the crowd was discussing, a light voice came from the golden palanquin above. Is this the Darklight Convention? There are so many people here. Why is it so lively? Hearing that voice, everyone was in an uproar. The faces of the 5 geniuses darkened. That voice was very young, and obviously belonged to the younger generation. They couldn't stand it. Impudent. Who are you? How dare you stop above us? Get down here. Flying is not allowed in the southern desolate ancient town. Don't you know that? Which hall are you from? Too arrogant. Cold shouts were heard one after another. It was obvious that everyone was furious. However, a disdainful voice sounded from the golden palanquin again. To find so many flies as soon as I arrive, how annoying. F***CK. Who was he calling a fly? Arrogant. Too arrogant. Which hall is he from? Why don't I have any impression of it? All sorts of angry curses rang out. The heavens' favorites' faces were terrifyingly dark. Among them, Nangong Hao's eyes were like lightning as he stared at the sky and said coldly, "Who are you?" At least in the southern desolation ancient array, no one should know him. Even the hall masters did not know him. Perhaps only the third guardian knew him. However, according to the memories he obtained, the third guardian would not be participating in the Darklight Convention, so he was very safe. It was not until a long time later that the people below came back to their senses and stared at the top. Damn, who is this kid? He actually has two peerless beauties. F***CK. I'm so jealous. What's with that look? It's so fierce. It's like an emperor looking down on the common people. Who is he? How come I've never heard of him? He shouldn't be someone from the 8 halls, right? Definitely not. The 5 strongest halls are already here. The remaining 3 can't have such a character. Otherwise, we would have known long ago. Damn, I'm starting to wonder if he's really from the Black Dragon sect. Many people below were shocked, but when they saw the black robe embroidered with a dragon bearing its fangs and brandishing its claws, they heaved a sigh of relief. Are you stupid? What an idiot. Without the Black Dragon token, you can't enter the Southern Desolation ancient town. If he can enter, he must be from the Black Dragon sect. The surrounding Black Dragon sect martial artists discussed. Chapter 1349. On the other hand, Nangong Hao, Xue Shou, Guili, and the other elites stared at the figure in the sky. Although they didn't know who the young man was, they could tell from his arrogant attitude and sharp eyes that he wasn't any weaker than them. However, they were extremely displeased because up until now, the other party was still walking in the air, stepping on their heads the entire time. Among them, the purple-robed youth Ziyang Zhan was frowning in the distance. His purple eyes shone with a mysterious light. Xue Shou smiled cruelly as his body emitted a bloody light and a murderous aura. His eyes were like 2 blood-red swords as he stared at the sky. Guili's face was pale as he smirked and cackled. What a strong body. Her soul must be good too. She's suitable to be my food. Guili stared at Shadowless and sneered. Meanwhile, Shadowless remained expressionless as if he didn't exist. Nangong Hao was the most furious. The Divine Pill Hall had always thought of themselves as the #1 hall among the 8 halls, and Nangong Hao was one of the 2 most outstanding people in the hall. It could be said that in his opinion, he was the most outstanding young prodigy of the 8 great halls. Everyone had to grovel at his feet. However, a mysterious young man had appeared and was standing above him. Not only that, the young man's arrogant attitude made him extremely unhappy, especially the 2 beauties beside the young man. Even he was envious of them. Such an entrance, such beauties, and such an attitude should belong to him. He wouldn't allow anyone to be arrogant in front of him. In the next instant, Nangong Hao looked at the sky and shouted, "Who are you? Which hall are you from? Why haven't I seen you before? Hurry up and prove your identity. Otherwise, I have the right to throw you out." He knew that the young man must have passed the inspection to be able to enter. However, he couldn't care less now. He just wanted to find a random reason to drag the young man down from the sky. If the young man continued to stand above him, he would definitely go crazy. Hearing the shout from below, Lin Xian lowered his head and looked at Nangong Hao. Then, he smirked disdainfully. "Listen carefully. Your father's name is Hua Wufeng. I'm the closed-door disciple of the third guardian." Hearing this, Nangong Hao's face darkened again. He almost spat out a mouthful of blood. On the other hand, Bloodhand, Ghostly, and the others were shocked. The disciple of the third guardian? He is actually the disciple of the third guardian. Everyone was shocked. They couldn't help but be shocked. The status of the 4 great protectors was very high, even higher than that of the 8 great hall masters. Furthermore, the other party was the disciple of the third protector. His status was clearly higher than theirs. No wonder he was so arrogant and dared to stand above them all. F***CK. The disciple of the third protector. I knew that this kid had a great background. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gotten 4 7th-level venerables to pull his carriage. It can't be, right? Even the protector's disciple is participating in the Darklight Convention? Looks like this meeting is definitely not going to be peaceful. Look at the faces of Nangong Hao and the others. It's so dark. I'm sure he's going crazy. You don't have to tell me that. They're all arrogant and unruly people. They won't submit to anyone. But who would have thought that there would be a young man standing above all of them today? How could they accept this? Everyone was discussing spiritedly, while some were extremely puzzled. That's not right. I've also heard of the third protector's disciple, but I don't think there's such a person. At this time, Bloodhand, whose body was emitting a bloody light, spoke. I've also seen the third protector's disciple, but I've never seen you before. Therefore, I'm still very doubtful about your identity. It's normal that you haven't seen me before. Lin Xian said arrogantly. I've been in seclusion and have only recently come out. But don't worry, after the Darklight Convention, the whole world will know the name of Hua Wufeng. If you still don't believe me, just take a look at this. Lin Xian waved his hand and took out a black token. Black Dragon token. And it was the Black Dragon token with the third protector's mark. The moment this token appeared, everyone went silent, because no one could forge this token. In other words, the other party was really the third protector's disciple. Seeing the expressions of the people below, Lin Xian smiled inwardly. He knew that these people already believed him, so no one would doubt him anymore. Now, all he had to do was wait for the mysterious crystal to appear. However, Lin Xian did not plan to leave just like that. His gaze turned, and finally stared at Nangong Hao again. Yes, I'm talking about you. Lin Xian pointed at Nangong Hao and said arrogantly, I've been on the road for an entire day, so I'm really tired. Hurry up and refine a few pills for me to relieve my fatigue. Remember, use the best spiritual medicine, and don't skimp on the materials. With that, he hugged Murong Qingcheng and Luo Bingshan and strode away. The crowd below was in an uproar, and Nangong Hao's face was dark, looking extremely ferocious. He clenched his fists tightly, like a mad beast. That damned guy. How dare he look down on me? Kill him. I must kill him. His lungs were about to explode from anger, because no young man had ever dared to speak to him like that. On the side, Bloodhand grinned. He's really arrogant. Although his identity is not bad, I wonder how strong he is? I really want to have a fight with him. Ghostly sneered. So what if he's the disciple of the third guardian? As long as he's not strong enough, I can still refine his soul into my white bone banner. Shadowless was still expressionless, but his eyes shone with a cold light. It was as if he was an experienced hunter who had found an interesting prey. In the distance, Ziyang frowned as well. This Hua Wufeng is really arrogant. However, the Saint sect has always been unrestrained. If he's not strong enough, I'm afraid he'll really be killed by Nangong Hao and the rest. At that time, even the third guardian will not be able to say anything. That's right. Putting everything else aside, the force behind Nangong Hao alone is no weaker than the third guardian. After all, the Divine Pill Hall's position in the Saint sect is unparalleled. Indeed, as a demonic sect, the Black Dragon sect was ruthless and decisive in their actions. Even if the disciple of the Guardian was not strong enough, he could not say anything if he was killed. Moreover, Nangong Hao and the rest were not ordinary people. They were extremely talented and were the geniuses of the Black Dragon sect. Behind each of them were representatives of the various halls, and some of them were even closely related to the other protectors. Therefore, they were not afraid of Lin Xian, and some of them had even started discussing how to get rid of Lin Xian. Chapter 1350. On the other side, after Lin Xian and the rest left, Murong Qingqing asked worriedly, "Aren't you being too ostentatious? If you anger those people, I'm afraid it'll be bad for our operation." Lin Xian smiled and said, "I have to be arrogant. I can't help it. My appearance will definitely arouse their suspicions. They'll definitely test me. If I don't act like Hua Wufeng, I'm afraid it'll arouse their suspicions. And to be honest, I don't really care about those guys. Although they're called prodigies, they're no different from ants in my eyes. If they really dare to make a move, I don't mind playing with them. I'll let them know what a true prodigy is." At the end, Lin Xian's eyes were filled with sharpness. Indeed, although Nangong Hao and Bloodrogue were strong, they were only early-stage 9th-level venerables. Lin Xian could kill people like them with a slap, so he didn't really care about them. Although the southern desolation ancient town was in the middle of endless mountains, it was no different from a real city. It had all kinds of things. Lin Xian led Murong Qingqing and Luo Bingshan to the restaurant. In fact, the Dark and Light Conference was a very strange place. It didn't care about status, but strength and wealth. If you had money and strength, you could stay in the best hotel and enjoy the best treatment. If you didn't have money, even a hall master wouldn't be able to get the best treatment. However, the strength and wealth of a hall master wouldn't be lacking, so this situation wouldn't happen. However, the disciples of the Black Dragon sect were different. Here, they would be divided into different ranks and enjoy different treatment. This was the purpose of the Dark and Light Conference. It was to separate everyone into different ranks. Firstly, it was to reward the top warriors. Secondly, it was to stimulate the other warriors and make them work hard to cultivate. Lin Xian now had the identity of Hua Wufeng, so he was at the top in terms of status and wealth. Naturally, he wanted to stay in the best restaurant and enjoy the best treatment. The Dark and Light Convention would officially begin tomorrow, so Lin Xian and the others were very relaxed today and didn't go out to stroll around. The first day of the conference was to trade. Because the Tianan region was very vast, and each hall belonged to a different region. Therefore, each of the halls had some treasures that they didn't need, or things that were unique to the region. The Dark and Light Conference had specially arranged a day for these people to trade. The next day was an auction organized by the headquarters of the Black Dragon cult. In this auction, some extremely precious treasures would be auctioned, treasures that would even move the hearts of those hall masters. The first 2 days were a battle of wealth, but the third day was not so gentle. The third day was a battle of strength. Lin Xian didn't know exactly what it was. He only knew that it was a competition called the Octadic Treasure Chess Game. However, it was said that the mysterious crystal appeared in the final Octadic Treasure Chess Game. Therefore, Lin Xian was looking forward to the Octadic Treasure Chess Game. The corner of Lin Xian's mouth raised into a smile. Then, he formed a seal with his palm and quickly entered a state of cultivation. Strands of cold qi gushed out from the surface and quickly circled around the terrifying cold qi in all directions. As Lin Xian absorbed the cold qi of the sea god's ice, his ice martial spirit became stronger and stronger. Now, it was not weaker than the lightning martial spirit. Moreover, he believed that as long as he absorbed all of the sea god's ice, not to mention the lightning martial spirit, even the black flame martial spirit would surpass it. Lin Xian was cultivating in his room, but it wasn't peaceful outside. During the day, Lin Xian suppressed the heavens' prides of the various halls and became the most dazzling figure. Naturally, it attracted the dissatisfaction of many people. Among them, the most dissatisfied were Nangong Hao, Bloodhand, and the others. Especially Nangong Hao, his lungs were about to explode during the day. Therefore, when night fell, he immediately sent people to investigate Lin Xian and the others. At least, he wanted to feel out the other party's strength. If they were strong, he would think of another way. If they were weak, then they couldn't blame him. He could easily slaughter the other party. Even if the other party's identity was special, he would have a way to resist the anger of the third protector in the future. In the night sky, 5 figures were like ghosts as they shuttled through the ancient city of the southern desolation. Soon, they arrived at the Drunken Immortal Inn. Not only that, they immediately locked onto Lin Xian's residence. It seemed that the divine pill hall was really powerful to be able to find Lin Xian's residence so easily. The 5 black-clothed men were all 8th-level honorable realm cultivators. At this moment, the 5 of them looked at each other and then silently charged forward. Their purpose was naturally to test Lin Xian. However, just as they rose into the air, a saber light flashed in the air and quickly enveloped the 5 of them. Then, 5 heads flew up and blood spurted out. Their bodies fell to the ground. The eyes of each of the 5 heads were filled with terror because they didn't believe that someone could easily kill all 5 of them with a single move. A figure appeared. It was Luo Bingshan. She slowly put away her treasured saber and waved her hand, clearing away the corpses, heads, and blood. Even the smell of blood in the air was gone. After doing this, Luo Bingshan's figure flashed and disappeared. The whole process was completed in an instant. Therefore, no one in the ancient city of the Southern Desolation knew that a battle had just happened. Not only Nangong Hao, but Bloodhand, Ghostly, and the others also sent people. However, without exception, they were all eliminated by Luo Bingshan. Lin Xian didn't care about what happened outside. This kind of thing didn't require him to do anything. He only needed to patiently cultivate. The night was silent. The next day, the Dark and Light Conference officially began. The streets of the ancient city of the Southern Desolation were filled with disciples of the Black Dragon cult. Both sides of the street were filled with all kinds of stalls, cultivation techniques, secret manuals, treasures, weapons, defensive equipment, pills, spiritual herbs, and all kinds of things related to cultivation were all taken out for trade. It could be said that this was a grand occasion. The entire ancient city of the Southern Desolation was bustling with noise and excitement. If it was outside, the Black Dragon cult's martial artists would definitely snatch the treasures when they saw so many treasures. They might even kill the owners of the treasures. However, the Dark and Light Conference was hosted by the Black Dragon cult. Therefore, even if the Black Dragon cult's disciples were usually very cruel, they didn't dare to kill people in the ancient city of the Southern Desolation. Moreover, the ancient city of the Southern Desolation also had a rule that no fighting was allowed in the city. This was an iron law that no one dared to violate. There were people who couldn't do it before, but they were all severely punished. Lin Xian also woke up early. He brought Murong Qingqing, Ruo Bingshan, and the Crimson Dragon out of the restaurant to try their luck. Chapter 1351. Lin Xian also woke up early and brought Murong Qingqing, Ruo Bingshan, and the Crimson Dragon out of the restaurant to try their luck. In the words of the Crimson Dragon, the Tianan region was not ordinary and could be said to be incomparably mysterious. Perhaps these warriors had some treasures in their hands. Lin Xian also went out with this attitude. This was because in the past, there were some treasures that ordinary warriors did not recognize and even treated as ordinary things. But in the eyes of a true expert, those were priceless treasures. Lin Xian also walked on the street with the 2 beauties. He did not even look at the stalls on both sides. However, his soul power had already swept through quickly. As long as there was a treasure, he would definitely not miss it. This is? Suddenly, Lin Xian stopped in his tracks. The corner of his mouth raised into a smile because he found something special. White bone wood, a very special material. It was one of the materials needed to refine the Red Lotus armor. Lin Xian only found a little bit of it in the Tianwu continent. He did not expect to find it in the Tianan region. It seems that my luck is really good. I did not expect to find white bone wood not long after I came out. Lin Xian was very excited. Now that he had refined half of the Red Lotus armor, its power was very obvious. Therefore, he hoped to refine all of the Red Lotus armor, and this white bone wood was the key. Therefore, he had to get it. You brat, did you find something good? Seeing Lin Xian smile, the Crimson Dragon asked. That's right, it is indeed something good. Lin Xian nodded and walked forward. Finally, he stopped at a stall on the right. How much is this? I want it. Lin Xian pointed at a bone-like object on the ground and said. The stall owner was a young man with fiery red short hair. His eyes were originally closed, and no one knew what he was thinking. However, When he heard Lin Xian's words, he opened his eyes. When he saw Lin Xian, Morong Qingcheng, and Luo Bingshan, he was stunned. Then, his eyes shone with a scorching light. You want this? The red-haired youth glanced at the white bone wood on the ground.
Yes.
Lin Xian nodded. Name your price. The smile on the corners of the red-haired young man's mouth grew wider when he heard this. Although he didn't know what the white bone-like thing on the ground was, judging from the other party's tone, it seemed to be rich and overbearing. Naturally, he had to take advantage of this kind of rich man. 30 million spirit stones and a half-earth tier cultivation technique, the red-haired youth quickly said. Hearing this, the surrounding martial artist's eyelids jumped wildly. They looked at the short-haired youth as if they were looking at an idiot. 30 million spirit stones for a set of half-earth rank cultivation manuals? You dare to ask for such a price? It's not just asking for an exorbitant price. It's as if he wants to eat someone alive. In their opinion, the other party would definitely not agree to this price. On the other hand, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. To be honest, this price was not considered expensive for the real white bone wood. Therefore, when he heard this price, he almost nodded in agreement without hesitation. After all, compared to the white bone wood, spirit stones and half-earth rank cultivation manuals were really nothing to him. All right, I agree to your price. Let's make the deal, Lin Xian said indifferently, as if he was talking about something insignificant. As soon as he said that, the surrounding crowd burst into an uproar. What? Did I hear wrongly? 30 million spirit stones and a half-earth rank cultivation manual? This is really a shocking amount of money. Not only that, it's fine if it's exchanging for a treasure, but what are those white bones? They look like trash. Why would anyone buy them? Could this guy have misjudged? Who knows? With his status, 30 million spirit stones and a half-earth rank cultivation manual are probably nothing. So what if he misjudged? The crowd discussed animatedly. They were incomparably envious of Lin Xian's generosity. The red-haired youth was also slightly stunned. He did not expect the other party to agree so readily. Could it be that this white bone is really a treasure? He was very puzzled. He did not know what this thing was at all. He did not pay much attention to it before, but now it seemed that it was indeed a treasure. Otherwise, the other party would not spend such a high price to buy it. One had to know that this price was just casually mentioned. He did not expect it to be successful at all. Lin Xian was about to pay when the red-haired youth quickly interrupted. Wait, I've changed my mind. What did you say? Lin Xian stopped what he was doing and frowned. I said, I've changed my mind. 30 million spirit stones and a half-earth rank cultivation manual is too cheap. I want to raise the price. Otherwise, I won't sell this white bone. Hearing this, Lin Xian's face darkened. It seemed that this guy wanted to raise the price. The surrounding crowd also understood what was going on. Then, they looked like they were watching a show. This guy is really ruthless. 30 million spirit stones and a half-earth rank cultivation manual are not enough? He wants to raise the price? Isn't he afraid of dying from overeating? What do you know? The other party agreed so readily. This means that the white bone is definitely a treasure. He'd be a fool not to raise the price now. However, that guy doesn't look like someone to be trifled with. Don't forget that he was very arrogant when he appeared yesterday. The crowd discussed animatedly. Lin Xian's face darkened. He asked coldly, What price do you want? This is a special case, but I think you can afford it. The red-haired youth's eyes lit up. Then, he stretched out his finger and pointed forward. I want her. I want her to accompany me for a night. The red-haired youth pointed at Morong Qingcheng and said, Let her accompany me for a night. Then, give me 30 million spirit stones and a half-earth rank cultivation manual. This white bone is yours. What? This guy actually made such a request. He's a kindred spirit. I didn't expect that guy to have such good taste. I'm so envious. That girl in purple is really a peerless beauty. She's even more beautiful than a fairy. This is going to be a good show. The red-haired youth's words caused an uproar among the surrounding martial artists. The whole street was bustling with noise and excitement. Lin Xian's face darkened completely. His eyes flashed with killing intent. Murong Qingcheng was his woman. He would not allow anyone to have ideas about her, let alone talk about her like that. Murong Qingcheng's face was also cold. As the little princess of the House of Kings, she had never been bullied like this before. If she encountered such a situation outside, she would have slapped the other party to death. However, they were in the southern desolation ancient town now. Moreover, Lin Xian still had a mission. She really could not make a move. However, Lin Xian did not care about this. He would not let the other party go. Let me give you a piece of advice. Quickly kneel down and apologize. Take back what you said just now. Otherwise, I'll let you know what regret is. Lin Xian said coldly. Chapter 1352. What? I can't bear to part with it. The red-haired man laughed. Isn't it just a woman? I'm just playing, not leaving. At worst, I'll return it to you after playing. Ha 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 ha. If you don't agree, don't even think about taking this bone away. The red-haired young man was very arrogant. Although his request was somewhat unreasonable, he was not afraid at all because the rules of the Dark and Light Convention stated that fighting was not allowed during the convention. Anyone who fought would end up in an incomparably miserable state. Therefore, he was not worried about his own safety at all. Moreover, he came late, so he did not see Lin Xian's arrival yesterday. Naturally, he did not know Lin Xian's identity. His prediction was good, but it was useless. Hearing this, Lin Xian completely lost control of his killing intent. At this moment, he did not care about the convention's rules at all. He took a step forward, and his right foot quickly kicked forward. This kick was very sudden and incomparably powerful. It carried a terrifying power and dense killing intent. Boom! The red-haired young man's right arm exploded, turning into a bloody mist. His bones shattered all over the ground. The red-haired young man screamed crazily, covering his wound with a sinister expression. You dare to hurt me? To be honest, he was really stunned because he never thought that the other party would make a move. One had to know that the southern desolate ancient town had rules that fighting was not allowed in the city. This rule was like a heavenly law that no one dared to violate. But now, someone actually dared to make a move on him? You're dead. The red-haired young man roared crazily. Breaking the city's rules, no one can stop you. You should worry about yourself first. Lin Xian's voice was ice-cold. Like a killing god, his right foot kicked out again. You dare? The red-haired young man's pupil shrank. He did not think that the other party would dare to make a move. The next moment, he roared and retreated, wanting to dodge. However, Lin Xian's kick was too fast. Like lightning, it instantly exploded the other party's left arm again. Bang! Another bloody mist. The stinging smell of blood pervaded the air. No! The red-haired young man screamed, his eyes full of fear. He was scared, really scared, because the other party's strength was stronger than his, and it seemed that he did not care about the rules of the city at all. Especially when he saw the other party's gaze, his heart trembled. His eyes were incomparably cold and filled with intense killing intent. It was even more terrifying than Skyblades. I was wrong. I want to apologize to you. Please spare me. The red-haired youth began to beg for mercy. Apologize? Lin Xian sneered. You've got the wrong person. Hearing this, the red-haired youth hurriedly crawled to Murong Qingcheng and began to kowtow. I deserve to die. I was blind. My mouth is cheap. Please, I beg you, spare me. Humph. This was the law enforcement team of the Southern Desolation Ancient City, used to maintain the stability of the entire ancient city. Normally, they would not do anything because no one dared to break the rules of the Southern Desolation Ancient City. This was the first time, so they were very angry and decided to punish the person who did it. Boy, did you kill him? The leader of the law enforcement team was a middle-aged man. His cold eyes stared at Lin Xian. In his eyes, there was a trace of killing intent. It was reasonable to say that even the members of the law enforcement team would not have killing intent. At most, they would be angry. However, the killing intent in the other party's eyes was indeed hard to understand. In fact, if it was an older generation figure, they would be able to understand, because it was very normal. The person who died was a disciple of the Azura Hall. Although this middle-aged man was now a member of the law enforcement team, he used to be from the Azura Hall. Therefore, at this moment, when he saw Lin Xian kill a disciple of the Azura Hall, he had such killing intent. I killed him. Lin Xian nodded, expressionless. It's good that you admit it. Men, take him away. The man said coldly. However, Lin Xian frowned. Don't you want to know why I killed him? I don't need to know. I only need to know that you killed someone and broke the rules of the Southern Desolation Ancient City. According to the rules, I need to arrest you and punish you. The man's voice was cold and merciless. The surrounding crowd was shocked, and many people were puzzled. They could not understand why the man's words were filled with killing intent. It can't be, right? Even if that boy killed someone, he is the disciple of the third guardian. It is reasonable to say that the law enforcement team should not treat him like this. What do you know? The one who died was a disciple of the Azura Hall, and the captain of the law enforcement team, Hua Chung, used to be from the Azura Hall. You say he doesn't have killing intent? What? Captain Hua Chung used to be from the Azura Hall? I really don't know. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.